At the end of the Ice Age, I accumulated tens of billions of supplies. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 326 Destruction. Zhang Yi regained all his strength. He felt that it was almost time, so he picked up Ling Feng's head and walked towards the edge of the valley. Zhang Yi didn't come out directly from the entrance, but slowly climbed up the cliff from one side. At this time, the people on both sides were guarding outside the cliff, anxiously waiting for the result of the battle inside. Zhang Yi notified Fatty Zhu and Uncle Yu through the walkie-talkie. Don't be surprised, and don't show any abnormalities. Wait for me to signal, and then attack. When Uncle Yu and Fatty Zhu heard Zhang Yi's voice, joy flashed in their eyes. It was Zhang Yi's voice. He was still alive. This also means that Zhang Yi won. Ling Feng is dead. However, the two immediately suppressed their excitement and secretly prepared to attack. Zhang Yi lay down on the cliff cautiously. His eyes swept over Shi Deang and others. After thinking for a while, he locked his eyes on Zheng Zurong. Like Fatty Zhu, she is also an ability user of the Ice and Snow department. She has a strong ability to control the field, but her physical strength is not strong. In Zhang Yi's right eye, the divine power was slowly activated. The space around Zheng Zurong's neck began to distort, and Zheng Zurong suddenly felt the discomfort in his body, screaming and wanting to run away. But the next moment, a large pool of blood burst out from her neck. The flesh and blood on half of the neck was torn to pieces by an unknown force. The main artery was torn off, and blood gushed out like a spring. Zhang Yi stood up abruptly from the cliff, and raised Ling Feng's head high in his hands. Ling Feng has been killed by me. Fatty Zhu manipulated a large amount of ice and snow with both hands, and began to attack the person facing him. The snow waves all over the sky swept over like a tsunami, blocking the sight of Shi Deang and the others. Uncle Yu shouted at Huahua and Liang Yu, "Go ahead, kill them all." Although Huahua and Liang Yu were stunned for a moment, they quickly came to their senses. The three quickly rushed to the opposite side. At this time, the alien of the Special Forces team was shocked by the scene in front of him, and his heart fell into a daze because of the too strong shock. Their strongest captain, Ling Feng, was actually killed by Zhang Yi. Although they didn't want to admit it, that lifeless head wouldn't lie. Coupled with the fact that Zheng Zurong was instantly killed by Zhang Yi, the Special Forces team became completely confused. Before they could react, Liang Yu had already rushed over with a Tang saber in his hand. On the Special Forces side, the combat power has dropped sharply. Ling Feng and Zheng Zurong died in battle. Li Ronghe was seriously injured, and Fang Zun's abilities were difficult to use due to environmental constraints. In fact, only Shi Deang and Zhu Mingji can fight. But firstly, Ling Feng's death made them lose their morale, and secondly, Liang Yu and Uncle Yu's combat effectiveness was also very fierce, and Zhang Yi used supernatural powers to plunder the formation from a distance. As a result, this battle has become a one-sided massacre. Kill them all, and leave none of them. Zhang Yi gritted his teeth and said. These nasty guys attacked his shelter again and again, disturbing his peaceful life. He really hated these bastards from the Zishan base. At this time, Zhang Yi still had the residual excitement of stimulants in his body. After Liang Yu and the others subdued the others, Zhang Yi rushed down from the hillside, then took Looming with him, and hacked them to death one by one. Immediately afterwards, in front of Liang Yu and the others, he began to absorb the supernatural powers from the corpse. But this time, that feeling has obviously become much weaker, and it even improved him a little. Huh? Why didn't it work? Zhang Yi frowned. But if you think about it carefully, you can probably understand the reason. The level of abilities of these people is much lower than that of Ling Feng. Compared with today's Zhang Yi, there is a big gap. Just like playing a game, playing mobs with a low level won't add much experience. Zhang Yi then said to Uncle Yu, Fatty Zhu and Huahua, come here and have a try. As for Liang Yu, Zhang Yi still has reservations about her and doesn't want her to continue to become stronger. In fact, Liang Yu and the others already knew from Zheng Zurong that there are different people who can absorb the same kind of power. But she didn't argue with Zhang Yi. After all, she owed Zhang Yi a big favor this time. Uncle Yu and Fatty Zhu tried it in the past, but soon they both shook their heads. No, boss. I don't feel anything when I do it. Fatty Zhu looked frustrated. Uncle Yu also said, me too. Their people mentioned before that not everyone has this ability. Maybe we are not as talented as you. Okay. Zhang Yi folded his arms, and a question mark appeared in his head. He still doesn't understand many things about aliens and abilities. It seems that there will be more research in the future, but there may be relevant records in the intelligence database of the Zishan base. After all, they have done a lot of research in this area. Meow at this moment, Huahua bit off Fang Zun's head in one bite, and swallowed it into her stomach with a gulp. Zhang Yi asked, Huahua, can you devour their strength? Huahua glanced at Zhang Yi with her huge eyes, and then narrowed her eyes slightly, which meant she agreed. In this case, let's leave them for you to make supper, Zhang Yi said very generously. So Huahua unceremoniously devoured those strangers. It turned back into the form of a kitten, jumped onto Zhang Yi's shoulder, and licked its paws. I'll go, it smells so good. Zhang Yi turned its head to the side, to prevent its mouth from facing him. However, Zhang Yi looked at Huahua clearly full of anticipation. Huahua has devoured so many aliens this time, and her strength will definitely become stronger, and she will be the #1 younger brother by her side in the future. Things are over here. The Zishan base has been bombed, and even if the people below are still alive, they will not survive for long. Liang Yu said, can we leave? I'm going to pick up my students. By the way, where will we be arranged to live? Zhang Yi said lightly, Zujia town. Anyway, it is impossible to put it in his young manner. These troublesome things, let them go to Zujia town, and live off ice fishing in the Lujiang river in the future. Liang Yu nodded, alright. She was about to go back, but Zhang Yi said unhurriedly, don't worry. Don't be impatient when doing things, we have to remember to finish the finishing work. Liang Yu looked at Zhang Yi curiously, wanting to see what he would do next. Zhang Yi came to the entrance of the Zishan base, opened the different space, and threw a bunch of trucks and machinery smashed by Ling Feng into it. Then, he arranged the explosives here. A group of people came tens of meters away from the entrance, and Zhang Yi pressed the switch in his hand to detonate the explosives. So far, the entrance to the passage here has been firmly blocked by those broken copper and iron. Even if there are still people alive, it is impossible to climb out of these heavy scrap irons. Chapter 327 The ashes are raised for you. Seeing Zhang Yi's actions, Liang Yu couldn't help but sigh with emotion. You really don't want to stay behind. Under such circumstances, it is obviously difficult to find living people down here. I'll take it as an insurance policy, Zhang Yi said lightly. But it's not over yet. Let's go. I'll take you to another place. Zhang Yi took out the snowmobile and invited Liang Yu to sit in his co-pilot. Liang Yu was curious and didn't know what Zhang Yi was going to do again. But it doesn't matter to her. If there is a car to take anyway, just take it as a way to watch the excitement. A group of people were riding a snowmobile. Zhang Yi turned on his mobile phone, and there was a 3D pattern of the Zishan base structure that Yang Xingxin had passed on. Not long after, they came to an area among the mountains. From a distance, the headlights saw 3 figures running away on the snow. Liang Yu looked at Zhang Yi in astonishment. You even thought of such a thing? Zhang Yi smiled lightly. According to the 3D structure diagram of the Zishan base, I found an escape passage connecting the First Life warehouse. It is not hard to guess who used it. He drove the snowmobile, stepped up the accelerator and drove towards the one over there. Liang Yu looked at those people, and a murderous intent gradually surged in his eyes. Chen Xinian. Chen Xinian, the culprit who caused the conflict between Zishan base and Zhang Yi. It is he who has been pressing every step of the way, leaving no room for Zhang Yi. It was he who established the harsh Zishan system and killed countless ordinary people, including Liang Yu's students. It is impossible for Zhang Yi to let anyone let him go. He must be allowed to die here. Since Chen Xinian can contact the Jiangnan region, it means that he has a very wide network of contacts. If this person survived, based on Zhang Yi's hatred for destroying his Zishan base, he would definitely never die with Zhang Yi. So Zhang Yi had to cut the weeds and get rid of the roots to completely solve this serious problem. The 3 people above the snow were indeed Chen Xinian and his guards. After the Zishan base was blasted, the first life warehouse was not at the center of the explosion, and it was not destroyed due to its strong defense. However, many underground life support systems have been destroyed, and the special forces members he relies on most cannot be contacted. Knowing that something was wrong, Chen Xinian immediately ran out from the escape route. In order to survive, he didn't even take care of his wife and children. It's a pity that they left in a hurry, and they didn't have a decent means of transportation, so they could only leave on foot. So, they were chased by Zhang Yi and others. When he saw the two snowmobiles driving towards them, Chen Xinian's face was pale and his mood fell to the bottom. The two loyal guards beside him hurriedly raised their guns and grenades, wanting to fight to the death. Two cars, one behind the other, blocked their way. Zhang Yi got out of the car and looked at Chen Xinian with a sneer. His playful eyes were like seeing prey caught in a trap. Isn't this the leader of the Zishan base? You are a big shot. Why did you run away without making a sound? Chen Xinian was so frightened that his legs went limp. For the first time in his life, he felt the smell of death so clearly. Even after the end of the world, relying on the power in his hands, he can still live happily in the Zishan base. But overnight, everything he owned was destroyed. In his eyes, Zhang Yi has become a nightmare existence. Zhang Yi, don't be impulsive. I think we can have a good talk. Chen Xinian quickly persuaded Zhang Yi to let him go. You can't kill me. I, Chen Xinian, am also a person of status. And if you kill me, it will break the balance of all areas in Xianhei City. At that time, I don't know how many demons and ghosts will come here. You will face greater danger. Zhang Yi's heart twitched slightly. He didn't know these things. But on the surface, he remained calm and said lightly, what do you mean? You don't look at yourself now. You have nothing, and you don't have the qualifications to negotiate terms with me. While Zhang Yi was speaking, the crowd had already surrounded the three of them. Especially Liang Yu, holding Tang Dao firmly in his right hand, looked at Chen Xinian with fierce eyes. There was a blood debt between her and Chen Xinian. Dozens of her students became Chen Xinian's test subjects, and some of them were even made into egg whites. From the bottom of her heart, she hated this hateful man. Zhang Yi's divine power had locked onto the three people present. Surrounded by different people, they have no ability to resist at all. Chen Xinian hurriedly explained, now is a troubled time, and heavy codes should be used in troubled times. If I don't do that, everyone will die. Zhang Yi, you are a great talent. You shouldn't bury your talent. Can the two of us cooperate? As long as you are willing to cooperate with me, with your strength and my connections and brains, we will definitely be able to make the Zishan base bigger and stronger. At that time, we will become the kings of the entire Xianhei City. Zhang Yi glanced at the corner of his mouth. I don't need it. Chen Xinian opened his mouth wide, still trying to persuade Zhang Yi with his perfect tongue. But the next moment, his head twisted for a while, and then exploded like a watermelon. The two guards were startled. They shouted leader. Then he pulled the ring of the grenade, and rushed towards Zhang Yi, wanting to die with Zhang Yi. Bang, bang, bang. After several gunshots, both of their knees were pierced, and they knelt down on the ground weakly. But they still threw the grenade at Zhang Yi desperately. Zhang Yi hurriedly opened the gate of dimension with both hands, and took over the grenade. Then he clasped his hands together, and the force of the explosion disappeared completely. The two guards looked dumbfounded. They couldn't understand this method. Zhang Yi walked up to them step by step, and then lightly pressed his right hand on the chest of a guard. The surging power was released by the gate of the dimension, and it sprayed violently towards the front. His body instantly brightened, and then burned into flames, and was burned into a skeleton in just a few seconds. Zhang Yi looked at his right hand with satisfaction. Now I have stronger and stronger control over the power of space. Looking at Zhang Yi's strength from behind, Liang Yu also had a strange feeling in her heart. Compared with the first time the two met, Zhang Yi's current strength has become more and more terrifying. She really couldn't imagine how far this man would grow if he continued to evolve at the current speed. Zhang Yi killed the three of them, Chen Xinian, and then burned their bodies to pieces. He waited until the three of them were turned into ashes, and he cleaned up all the ashes before leaving contentedly. The partners behind were speechless, just watched Zhang Yi operate for a long time. Is this necessary? Liang Yu couldn't help asking. You are too cautious. Now that the entire Zishan base has been destroyed by you, what are you still worried about? But Zhang Yi said seriously, Chen Xinian was a big shot in Xianhai City before. I don't know what kind of complicated social background he has. What if someone comes to avenge him after he dies? Liang Yu rolled her eyes. It's such a time. Do you think it's possible? Zhang Yi said, I will put an end to any possible danger. Speaking of this, he said to Liang Yu with a smile, if you had seriously considered the consequences before going to the Zishan base, maybe it would not have ended like today. Liang Yu's heart was shocked. Thinking of those students who died tragically, I couldn't help feeling sad. She looked at Zhang Yi with complicated eyes and began to understand what he did. Chapter 328 Gathering Teammates. Zhang Yi called everyone to go back. He, Uncle Liu, and Fatty Zhu have all been injected with stimulants, which can make them energetic in a short period of time and improve their combat effectiveness. But after 12 hours, it will fall into a weak state. So he had to go back to a safe place and rest for a while. As for the Zishan base, he will come again in the future. After all, there are many weapons and ammunition stored in the base, as well as many things prepared to cope with the extraordinary environment. Zhang Yi is a frugal person and will not waste anything. Several people got into the car. Liang Yu reminded, go and pick up my students first. According to Zhang Yi's instructions, her students went to hide in the nearest community. With the food and fuel Zhang Yi gave them, they were able to survive the cold night for a while. But if they go late, they will die as soon as the fuel is used up. Zhang Yi didn't say much and drove directly in that direction. Although he didn't have much affection for those students, Zhang Yi still admired Liang Yu. Her combat effectiveness was even more watched by Zhang Yi. Sooner or later, I have to make her mine. Zhang Yi thought to himself. As for what kind of my person it is, it will depend on Zhang Yi's performance at that time. Zhang Yi drove the car and arrived at the residential building in 10 minutes. In the distance, they saw firelight shining through the windows of a house. The students gathered here, found a lot of chairs and furniture, and started a fire with the fuel provided by Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi put Liang Yu down. We'll go back first. By the way, I will provide you with accommodation and some food as agreed. Afterwards, you will head to Zujia town, where there are now many empty houses to live in. Zhang Yi's arrangement is quite meaningful. Originally, when he came here, he could quickly separate from Liang Yu and the others, regardless of their life or death. But if Liang Yusen went to Zujia town as he said, it would be like stepping one foot into Zhang Yi's trap. It's only a matter of time before she becomes Zhang Yi's person. Now, Zhang Yi's car can't fit so many people, so they can only solve the traffic problem by themselves. As for the next tens of kilometers, how these people will finish it is none of Zhang Yi's business. Zhang Yi didn't have the slightest affection for those students who bullied Yang Xingxin and Lu Karen. It would be best for them to die cleanly on the road, and only Liang Yu would arrive alive. That would be the most ideal result. Liang Yu couldn't help asking, can't you come back to pick us up later? Zhang Yi looked at her and said lightly, Mr. Liang, I have fulfilled the agreement between us. I rescued you. To express my gratitude to you, I also promise to provide you and your students with some food and shelter. If you want to ask for more, then, Zhang Yi rubbed his fingers at her, you have to offer enough benefits in exchange. Liang Yu looked astonished. I thought we were already friends. Just because we are friends, we have to clearly mark the price. This way we won't hurt our feelings. Zhang Yi said with a smile. Liang Yu was speechless. Alright then, let's go there by ourselves. She said a little angrily. Originally, she wanted to take the opportunity to discuss with Zhang Yi whether she could get her beloved sword Looming back. But seeing Zhang Yi like this, she also knew there was nothing to do. With such a fussy man, trying to take advantage of him is harder than reaching heaven. Okay then, see you back in Zujia town. Zhang Yichen waved to Liang Yu, then returned to the car, and the group drove away. Liang Yu turned her head and came to the students' sheltered room, only to see them watching the snowmobile go away with worried faces. Are you alright? Liang Yu asked with concern. The students gathered around the fire, looking pretty good, and the temperature in the room was relatively warm. It's just a little bit prone to carbon monoxide poisoning, but everyone doesn't care about that now. The students looked at Liang Yu, and suddenly someone asked, "Mr. Liang, why did they leave? Didn't they agree to arrange a place for us to live?" Only then did Liang Yu realize that there was disappointment in their eyes. Although they left the magic cave at the Zishan base, after they came out, they couldn't find a place with enough food to live on, and their lives were still difficult to guarantee. Liang Yu hurriedly comforted them and said, "Don't worry, Zhang Yi and I have already discussed it. I will take you to Zujia town, where there is a good living environment. Besides, there are still villagers living in Zujia town, and it is close to the Lujiang river. In the future, we will be able to catch fish from the river to eat." Students, you look at me, I look at you, and fell silent for a while. Obviously, this kind of life is too far from their ideal, which makes them very disappointed. Among the crowd, Wu Chengyu suddenly stood up, frowning, and asked in bewilderment, "Mr. Liang, as far as I know, after Yang Xingxin and Lu Karen were taken away, they both lived in Zhang Yi's villa. That shelter was built by Wang Ximing at a cost of $1 billion, and I have also visited it. That place has a lot of space, and we can all live in it. Why don't you discuss with Zhang Yi and let us live in too? The living conditions in that place are much better." The eyes of the students lit up, and they said again and again, "Yes, yes, since Yang Xingxin and Lu Karen can live in it, why can't we? Teacher Liang, you should discuss it with Zhang Yi. It's so cold outside, let us go out to catch fish, it will frostbite our hands." Their eyes burn with greed. It can be seen that in the past few hours, they have discussed their arguments and imagined their life after living in the shelter. But Liang Yu looked at their hopeful eyes and could only helplessly shatter their illusions. "Don't even think about this matter. Zhang Yi was able to come and help us leave the Zishan base, which is already the result of my hard work. Now we have cleared the two, and no one loses money. Why did they let us live in his shelter?" Thinking of Zhang Yi's indifferent face, Liang Yu said, "He is not kind enough to help others selflessly. Get rid of this idea as soon as possible. At the very least, we are free now, which is better than being in danger at the Zishan base." When the students heard that their illusions were shattered, they immediately became anxious. Liang Yu frowned, emphasizing her tone. "Okay, don't talk anymore. Tonight, everyone will take turns to watch the night and have a good rest. We will set off for Zujia town tomorrow morning. The temperature is too low at night and the sight is not good, so they have to wait until dawn before taking action." The students looked dejected and felt too much unwillingness in their hearts, but at this moment they did not dare to disobey Liang Yu's words. After staying in the Zishan base for more than a month, they deeply understood that today is not what it used to be, and the powerful teacher Liang is the biggest reliance for their survival. On the other side, Zhang Yi took everyone to the Yulu community, and first took Zhao Keller, Yang Xingxin and others back to the shelter. After hearing the news of Zhang Yi's success, the women in the safe house were all very excited. After the Zishan shelter is wiped out, their future lives will be safe. In the last days, who doesn't want to live a stable and happy life? The women's cheers sounded in the earphones, and Zhang Yi and the others looked at each other and smiled. Zhang Yi said to Uncle Yu, "Uncle Yu, why don't you and Aunt Zhao move here? Young Manor is all luxurious villas, you can choose whatever you want. The living environment here is better than that of Yulu community, and in the future, everyone will be close, so there will be a care for them." After listening to Uncle Yu, he thought for a while and readily agreed. "Well, I think that's fine. After all, after this war, I also feel the strength of unity." He laughed and said, "To be honest, just the two of us live there, and sometimes I feel a little scared in my heart." Fatty Zhu interjected, "Uncle Yu, what are you afraid of? Based on your strength, unless you encounter an organization like Zishan Base, 3 or 50 ordinary people are no match for you." Uncle Yu sighed, "What I'm worried about is meeting similar organizations." Zhang Yi's eyes drooped slightly, and he said lightly, "Uncle Yu's worries are justified. It is impossible for Xianhei City to have only one Zishan base." This point can be heard from Chen Xinian's words when he was dying. Although the Ice Age came and killed most people, but it also means that those who survived are not easy to deal with. You know, Xianhei City is a huge city with 2,000 million people. Can you imagine how many aliens and armed forces there will be here? But at this point, Zhang Yi said with a smile, in order to ease the atmosphere, but we don't need to worry too much. The Zishan base is so powerful, isn't it still wiped out by us? We will live together in the future. With our current strength, no one will be afraid. The three of you look at me, and I look at you, and they all feel that each other's existence is the source of their confidence. Besides them, who are they? Yang Xingxin, Lu Karen, Zhao Ke. Which one is not a powerful combat force or backup talent? Even Liang Yu, a powerful martial art master, can be their helper. Such a powerful force, any person or force has to weigh it. Uncle Yu nodded emphatically. We'll move when we get back. With Zhang Yi around, moving is just a trivial matter. The group drove the snowmobile back to the safe house. As soon as they came home, the women jumped up excitedly. Zhao Heimei asked Uncle Yu if he was injured. Zhao Ke and Yang Mi carefully checked Zhang Yi's body. Lu Karen watched from the side with a grin, a little embarrassed to come over, but Zhang Yi, who was careful, found out and walked over to give her a bear hug. Thank you, your help is indispensable for this victory. Lu Karen's pretty face flushed slightly. I just helped out a little, and it was you guys who contributed the most. Don't underestimate yourself, you are very important to me. Zhang Yi smiled and pinched her cheeks. This kind of intimate gesture made Lu Karen's face turn even redder, and he lowered his head, not daring to look at him. At this time, there were two jealous eyes from the side. Zhang Yi looked down. Yang Xingxin was sitting in a wheelchair, looking at him dissatisfied. Zhang Yi hurriedly leaned over and hugged her, and said with a smile, if you want me to say, we Xingxin are the biggest contributors this time. Without your powerful hacking ability, the foundation of our operation would not exist. Although these words were intended to make her happy, everyone also admitted that this was indeed the truth. Without Yang Xingxin, they would have no chance to challenge the Zishan base at all. Rather than saying that Zhang Yi destroyed the Zishan base, it is better to say that the missile launched from the Jiangnan region gave them a chance. And all of this is inseparable from Yang Xingxin's operation. Calculated in this way, a genius who has reached the top in a certain field is sometimes more important than a stranger. Chapter 329 Stimulants. Equally, Zhang Yi told everyone about moving back. Yang Mi, Zhao Ke and others were naturally very happy. The space of the safe house is too small, so many people live together. It is definitely not as spacious as a shelter. It is easy to go from frugal to extravagant, but difficult to go from extravagant to frugal. The 5-story building in the shelter has complete living facilities, and it is not an exaggeration to say that it is almost the same as a palace. Uncle Yu asked Zhao Heimei for her opinion. Zhao Heimei naturally readily agreed. She also specifically asked Zhang Yi, is my previous villa still there? When I bought it, I spent 1.8 million yuan. After all, she bought the villa with her own money. Although in the end of the world, real estate is worthless, she is still reluctant. Zhang Yi shook his head with a smile. It has been bombed long ago, but there are still many villas intact, and it will be the same if you change to another one. Zhao Heimei sighed, feeling a pity in her heart. That's my life savings. Even big stars have paid a lot for a house, so they feel a lot of emotion in their hearts. But she still has no objection to going back. It's so boring here. After going to Young Manor, wouldn't it be nice to be able to go to Zhang Yi's house and play Mahjong with Zhao Ke and Yang Mi? So everyone packed up together. Zhang Yi didn't let everyone move all the things. It's enough for everyone to take away the necessities in life. The house remains in its original appearance, and some daily necessities are left behind. In case something happens there one day, we can use this place as a temporary base for refuge. Everyone heard the words and thought it was very reasonable. Anyway, there is no shortage of supplies in Zhang Yi's different space, so everyone stuffed important things into Zhang Yi's different space and set off lightly. Zhang Yi was the last to leave, and he locked the heavy alloy door. No one else can enter this place except him, so he will not leave it for others to use. The big guy went downstairs. Zhang Yi took out the snowmobile and let everyone get on it. At this moment, Zhang Yi suddenly noticed a spying gaze not far away. He turned his head and saw a figure in a black down jacket in the distance. It turned out to be Li Jian. Zhang Yi frowned slightly and walked towards Li Jian. Li Jian didn't run away either and waited obediently for Zhang Yi to come over. You don't sleep in the middle of the night. What are you doing out there? Li Jian hurriedly said. Tonight, there was a loud explosion from the west. We were all woken up, so we didn't sleep. The explosion that Li Jian mentioned was naturally the missile. Zhang Yi took a look at Li Jian, thinking of his strange ability. He couldn't help asking, how is your body recently? Do you feel anything abnormal? The weirdness of Li Jian's ability was given by some people who called themselves snow worshippers. Zhang Yi has never dealt with those people, but he had a vague feeling that sooner or later he would run into those people. So knowing more information about the opponent is only good for him. Li Jian shook his head. No, I don't dare to use this ability easily now. Professor Jia reminded me that if I use too much, I might become a fertilizer. Zhang Yi nodded and didn't say anything more to him. Li Jian's ability is of no use to him at present, so he didn't plan to kill Li Jian or include Li Jian in his team. After all, there is a large group of residents of 18 number behind Li Jian, and those people cannot do without him. These people have no grievances or enmities with Zhang Yi, let alone pose a threat. For such people, Zhang Yi still doesn't mind letting them live well. Just let Li Jian live well here, just in case he needs it someday. That night, everyone returned to the shelter. Although only a day and a half had passed, returning here again gave people a feeling as if they had passed away. It was almost hit by a missile and turned into ruins. But now, their enemies are dead, and nothing can disturb their peaceful life. Since it was midnight, everyone was a little tired, so Zhang Yi asked everyone to rest in the room first. Wait until they regain their strength, and then redistribute the house. There are more than a dozen villas around that have not been destroyed, and Fatty Zhu and Uncle You can choose them at will. However, from the beginning to the end, Zhang Yi expresses the meaning in the words very clearly, and the shelter will not be shared with others. It's not because he doesn't trust Uncle You and Fatty Zhu. Zhang Yi trusted Uncle You very much, but he still had reservations about Fatty Zhu. As for Zhao Heimei, Zhang Yi and her were only superficially polite, for the sake of Uncle You. He didn't trust these two people, and everyone got together more because of interests. It's better not to let them live in it. On the other hand, it is inconvenient for everyone to live together. For example, Zhang Yi has his own needs in life. If there are outsiders in the family, the hands and feet cannot be used, which will affect the performance. And Uncle You also has such concerns, so he is naturally happy to go out and live alone. As for Fatty Zhu, since he was used by Zhu Lily, he has shown some signs of fear of women. At home, he basically only dared to talk to Zhang Yi. He's also happy to move out and live with his figurines and throw pillows. After a few days of tossing and worrying for a month, I was finally able to sleep well. Zhang Yi hugged Huata and returned to his comfortable room. He locked the door from the inside because in the next period of time, he would fall into a weak state. Stimulants can overdraw one's physical strength. As much as one's playing at the beginning is fun, one's body will be sore and fatigued later on. What's more, he gave 3 injections in one go. In the next few days, life returned to calm. Like Fatty Zhu, Zhang Yi's body has entered a weak state. That feeling can only be described as weakness in the limbs and lack of energy in the head. Zhang Yi just wanted to lie on the bed and do nothing. Fortunately, there are more women in the family. Zhao Keir, Yang Mi, and Lu Karen took turns to take care of him, and it was pretty good. Fatty Zhu was more pitiful, lying on the bed alone, recovering by reading comics. Every day, Yang Mi will bring the prepared meals to his bed, but there is no feeding service. Zhang Yi can enjoy such high-level treatment. As for Liang Yu, she led her students all the way to Zujia town with difficulty. There are only a few old people, women, and children left in Zujia town, and many houses are vacant. Liang Yu took a dozen students to occupy 2 empty houses. Villagers in Zujia town did not dare to contact them, especially after seeing the special combat uniform of Zishan base on Liang Yu. She would subconsciously hide. The shadow left by the Zishan base special forces at the beginning may not disappear until they die. The living problem of Liang Yu and others has been solved. But the problem of eating is still difficult to handle. The students are not fishermen. If they are asked to fish on the ice, they don't have the ability. Liang Yu was soft-hearted and couldn't bear to rob those old and weak women and children. so she had no choice but to come to the shelter to find Zhang Yi, hoping that Zhang Yi could give them some food according to the previous agreement. Chapter 330 Teacher Liang, sit down. Zhang Yi, we are safe now. Do you want to consider having a baby? Zhao Ke's soft voice came from the room. She was lying on a huge bed, wearing black silk pajamas, her graceful body looming. Due to years of exercise, her figure is slender and well proportioned, with a perfect 9-headed body, and her figure should be convex and warped. In the past, just by her body shape, it was known that this woman was very fertile. Zhang Yi lay on her soft thighs, squinting slightly, enjoying her finger massage. Why do you have such an idea? Once you have a child, you have to spend all your time on him. Enjoy yourself in time, and don't think too far. At this time, Zhang Yi had no intention of having a child at all. First, he doesn't want his children to affect his current comfortable life. Second, the world today is not stable, and there may be a new crisis someday. Having a child is an extra burden. Zhao Ke pursed her lips. But, I want to have a crystallization of love with you. There are more and more beautiful women around Zhang Yi. Zhao Ke will inevitably feel a sense of crisis in his heart. In this world, many women have a common problem. That is, they see other women around their boyfriends as potential mistresses. There are more and more excellent women around Zhang Yi, so she is not completely unreasonable to worry. Zhao Ke hoped to stabilize her position, so she decided to have a baby. That's too troublesome. There is an easier way. Zhang Yi opened his eyes and said to her with a smile. Huh? What way? Zhao Ke opened her beautiful eyes wide and asked curiously. Keep your figure and face and study your skills more. Zhang Yi said humorously. Zhao Ke was so ashamed that she stretched out her white and slender jade fingers and touched his chest. A hint of cunning flashed in her eyes. She suddenly lowered her head and leaned close to Zhang Yi's ear. Oh, you know how to tease me. But who can practice this kind of thing by himself? Zhang Yi only felt itchy in his heart. But at this time, he is still in a weak stage, so it is inevitable that he will be a little weak. How hateful. You should just be arrogant now, and when I recover, I have to let you know how powerful I am. HMPH, then I'll wait for you. While the two were flirting, there was a sudden knock on the door outside. Zhang Yi, Liang Yu is here. She said she wants to see you. It was Uncle Yu's voice. Among the three, only Uncle Yu's body did not appear to be affected by the drugs. After all, his ability is to strengthen the body, and he also has a strong resistance to drugs. So the side effects are quickly eliminated. When Zhang Yi heard that Liang Yu was coming, a smile appeared on the corner of Zhang Yi's mouth. Everything was in his expectation. It is not difficult for Liang Yu to bring the students out, but she is a warrior. What will she do to feed and drink those students? In the end, you still have to come and beg them. You can't let me handle it this time. Zhang Yi GGG laughed strangely. Zhao Ke looked at him with a strange face. Are you going to make some crooked ideas about that teacher Liang? Zhang Yi sat up lazily, reached out and slapped her upright buttocks hard. Snapped. The echo is crisp and full of elasticity. What is crooked thinking? This is called equivalent exchange. Zhao Ke let out a cry of pain, and Zhang Yi got up from the bed with a smile, then lazily walked over to open the door for Uncle Yu. Opening the door, Uncle Yu said to Zhang Yi, Liang Yu is waiting at the door. Do you want her to come in? Let her in. It just so happens that I have something I want to talk to her about. Liang Yu is a stubborn woman, and she still has the ethics of teaching in her heart. This kind of person is Zhang Yi's favorite. Because he is scoundrel enough, he likes good, honest, and trustworthy people, and he can never suffer from dealing with such people. Liang Yu has such a good fighting power, of course he has to firmly control it in his own hands. When Zhang Yi came to the living room, Yang Mi saw this, and hurried over to help him. No need, I'm not so weak. Zhang Yi waved his hand and told her, go and make some hot coffee. Yang Mi said, I don't know what teacher Liang likes to drink. Zhang Yi said, just make a cappuccino. Now you just pour boiled water for her to drink, and she likes it. Yang Mi obediently went to make coffee, while Zhang Yi asked the intelligence system to open the door and let Liang Yu in. This was Liang Yu's first time entering the shelter. After coming inside, she looked at everything around her in disbelief. This luxurious villa is almost like a palace in the last days. She had also been to Chen Xinyan's No. Life warehouse. In terms of luxury, it was completely different from Zhang Yi's shelter. After all, the Zishan refuge was originally a temporary refuge. It was built a long time ago, and its main purpose was to avoid wars and natural disasters. Therefore, in terms of comfort, it is definitely not as strong as the shelter that Wang Ximing worked so hard to build. Liang Yu finally understood why Zhang Yi didn't bother with Chen Xinyan's solicitation, but insisted on living here. From here to the second life warehouse at the Zishan base, it is equivalent to going from the presidential suite of a 5-star hotel to a convenient hotel at 30 yuan a night. Teacher Liang is here, come and sit. Zhang Yi was wearing a white cotton pajamas, leaning lazily on the sofa, reaching out his hand to say hello to Liang Yu. Liang Yu took off the down jacket on her body, revealing her beautiful figure inside. Her bust is slightly small, although it can't be said that she is flat, but for Zhang Yi, who is used to seeing the big world, it is still a bit pitiful. But for a martial artist, this body type is conducive to performance. Zhang Yi glanced at her down jacket. It didn't seem to fit very well, not to mention the dirty ones, and the sleeves were a bit too long. Obviously the clothes were not hers, they should have been taken from someone's corpse. There is no way to wash it in the cold weather, so it looks very shabby. Why don't you wear combat uniform? Zhang Yi asked curiously. Combat uniforms are the standard equipment of the Zishan base special forces, and the captain level combat uniforms are of better quality. In addition to having a strong bulletproof ability, it also has a good temperature control function, which is not afraid of cold and heat. Liang Yu said helplessly, the temperature control system consumes electricity. Zhang Yi slapped his forehead, and then recalled. I have no shortage of electricity throughout the day, and the generator in the basement keeps working. As far as the fossil fuels in his hands are concerned, there will be no shortage of energy. But in this world, not everyone has such superior conditions as him. In the outside world, the government still provides intermittent daily power, which is to prevent people across the country from dying due to energy supply problems. This has indeed allowed many people to survive, and it can be regarded as preserving the fire for the reconstruction after the end of the world. But that meager amount of electricity can probably only be used to heat some food, or be used for the most important eating. Many people can't even bear to use their mobile phones. Therefore, Liang Yu had no choice but to give up using high energy consuming combat uniforms and switch to traditional clothing. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 331. Zhang Yi sighed. Mr. Liang, with your ability, you could have lived a more comfortable life. I didn't expect it to be so difficult now. Well, you really deserve to be a good gardener of the people. Zhang Yi smiled and praised. Liang Yu frowned slightly, feeling a little uncomfortable. Although Zhang Yi was praising her, she had a feeling of being scolded, as if someone said she was a fool. She didn't want to argue about this either. She just sat down slowly on the sofa. The warm room temperature and the soft sofa greatly relieved her emotions. Yang Mi came over with 2 steaming cups of coffee, smiled and put a cup in front of Liang Yu. Please use. Thank you. Liang Yu picked up the cup, and she was a little moved by the rising heat. Looking at the milk froth on it, she realized that it was a cappuccino she didn't like to drink. In order to keep in shape on weekdays, she drinks espresso. But now she had no room to be picky, so she still took a big sip. So sweet. At least 2 pieces of sugar were added. Liang Yu thought so in his heart. For the first time, she didn't feel disgusted by adding so much sugar to the coffee, but was so touched that she wanted to cry. Zhang Yi took a sip of coffee unhurriedly, and then asked, what can I do for you this time? Holding the coffee in his hand, Liang Yu stared at Zhang Yi and said seriously, we agreed before that I will help you counterattack the Zishan base, and you will provide me and the students with shelter and food. Now the Zishan base has been destroyed, and the residence is also ready-made in Zujia town. So I hope you can provide us with more food. Speaking of this, she said with a little helplessness, you also know that my students are spoiled and spoiled. It takes a certain amount of time for them to search for food or go down the river to fish. Zhang Yi immediately asked back, so they suffered too little at position base? Liang Yu's tone faltered, and she shook her head. Let's not mention this for now. In short, you give us food first, so that they can spend the first period of time. I will think of a way for the follow-up matters. Zhang Yi nodded, of course. He directly opened the gate of dimension in front of Liang Yu then. Crash! A large pile of food appeared on the floor like a hill, piled up to a height of more than 1 meter. Bread, bags of steamed buns, spicy strips, chicken feet. There are a lot of things in Zhang Yi's space, and he took them all at once, regardless of whether he needs them or not. The same goes for food, many of which he doesn't like to eat very much. He picked a little from it and gave it to Liang Yu. Zhang Yi pointed to the food and said, these things are enough for you, and the dozen or so students to eat for half a month. Take them back. This is what we agreed upon. Liang Yu looked at the pile of food on the ground with a joyful smile on her face. Thank you, Zhang Yi. This is what you deserve. Zhang Yi took a sip of coffee and said with a gentlemanly smile. Liang Yu breathed a long sigh of relief. In fact, when she came, she was very afraid that Zhang Yi would backtrack. After all, the Zishan base is gone now, and she has no conditions to negotiate with Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi regretted that she had nothing to do. So Zhang Yi readily fulfilled the agreement, which made Liang Yu feel good about him. Zhang Yi took a few travel bags and asked Yang Mi to put them away for her. Liang Yu sat on the sofa and originally wanted to sit for a while longer and drink some warm and sweet coffee. But staying here all the time, she is also embarrassed, worried that people think she is here to warm up. So she had to squat down and put the food in the bag. Zhang Yi looked at her and suddenly asked, it must be difficult for a woman to bring so many half-year-old students? Liang Yu suddenly stopped what he was doing. This sentence completely entered her heart. Since the end of the world, as a teacher, she has been working hard to protect her students. The students regarded her as their alliance, but who cared whether she worked hard or not? In fact, she is just a woman in her 20s who occasionally needs comfort from others. Liang Yu raised her head and smiled gratefully at Zhang Yi. Thank you. But, I can't leave those students behind. Once I let go, they won't be able to survive in this world. Liang Yu sighed softly. That will make me unable to forgive myself. Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows. He understood the subtext of Liang Yu's words. She works so hard to protect these students, not necessarily because she loves them so much. What she sticks to is her duty as a warrior and a teacher. People can die for their beliefs. Once you violate your beliefs and cannot convince yourself to fall, then living may be more painful than dying. Or thought suddenly appeared in Zhang Yi's mind. If I can help Liang Yu get rid of these students reasonably, she might be very happy. That's right, it's the kind of joy that seems to be extremely painful on the surface, but in fact, I breathe a long sigh of relief in my heart, and then I can live a new life with peace of mind. If there is a chance in the future, it would be nice to get rid of her oil bottles. Zhang Yi thought so in his heart. The reason why he didn't like Liang Yu's students was because of Yang Xingxin and Lu Karen. When they were at Azure Academy, those guys used violence against Yang and Lu. Therefore, Zhang Yi recognized that this was a group of bad things. Keeping it is a waste of rice, and it may become a hidden danger someday. It's better to find a chance to clean them up. Looking at Liang Yu, Zhang Yi knew in his heart that now was not the time to move those people. He couldn't make Liang Yu hate himself. He really wanted this woman to be his own. So Zhang Yi said, you dote on them too much. Obviously they are not young, most of them are adults, right? But they are still like a child who has not been weaned, relying on you for everything. Liang Yu, what are you going to do when you run out of food? Do you support all of them by yourself? Liang Yu's head hurt from what Zhang Yi said. Those students are pampered. I thought they had learned how to live independently after suffering at the Zishan base. But let them go to the Lujiang River to dig ice and fish, and they can break their hands. Let them mend the igloos, they can even make big holes in the houses. In addition to these, they also dislike that the clothes and quilts left by the villagers were covered by the dead, unlucky, and dirty, and they are unwilling to wear them. You know, the end of the world has been approaching for 3 months. Who has the conditions to wash clothes and quilts? Liang Yu frowned, not knowing what to do in her heart. She could only hope that they would mature one day so that she could lighten the burden. Zhang Yi looked at her and suddenly said softly, Liang Yu, you have worked so hard like this. Or let me help you. Liang Yu raised her head in disbelief, staring at Zhang Yi with background eyes, unable to believe her ears. You, what did you say? She had to speak again to confirm. Zhang Yi smiled slightly. I mean, I can provide food for you. Now everyone knows that I have a lot of supplies in my hand. The food is even more abundant. Even if there are more than a dozen of you, there is no pressure at all. Zhang Yi sighed. Seeing you working so hard, as a kind person, I really can't stand it. Liang Yu was overjoyed, but soon she became vigilant. She still has some understanding of Zhang Yi's personality and style, so she will not give charity to others for no reason. Let me ask first, do you want us to do something for you when you help us? There was a mysterious smile on the corner of Zhang Yi's mouth. You are wrong. It is not helping you, but helping you. And I need you to provide enough price in exchange for food. Liang Yu was relieved. This was the Zhang Yi she knew. Tell me, what do you need me to exchange with you? Zhang Yi laughed, then stretched out his index finger playfully, pointing at Liang Yu. I want you. Liang Yu froze for a moment, and soon, a blush appeared on her snow-white face, and she stood up reflexively, and took 5 or 6 steps back. You, don't go too far. Liang Yu was trembling with anger, and pointed at Zhang Yi with shame and indignation. Not far away, Yang Mi couldn't help but look over when she heard the commotion here. Does Zhang Yi have any thoughts about Mr. Liang? In Yang Mi's heart, the sense of crisis was even stronger. Liang Yu pointed at Zhang Yi, gritted her teeth, and said word by word, I will never sell my body. A smirk appeared on the corner of Zhang Yi's mouth. Seeing Liang Yu's hopping like a caracal cat gave him great satisfaction in his wicked taste. He leaned on the sofa unhurriedly, looked at Liang Yu with a confused face. I want to ask you to be my tutor and teach me martial arts. How can this be obscene? Clam. Liang Yu froze in place again. Private teacher? Zhang Yi slapped his head and suddenly realized. Oh. So you thought I wanted you to do that? Oh, what are you thinking about in your mind? You are the teacher of the people. Zhang Yi was speechless, but actually burst into laughter in his heart. Sure enough, Liang Yu was dumbfounded by Zhang Yi's cheesing. She thought she had misunderstood what Zhang Yi meant, and quickly apologized blushing. I'm sorry, I misunderstood what you meant. Zhang Yi's tone was a little angry. Do you think I, Zhang Yi, are that kind of person? Liang Yu, you underestimate me. Oh, this tutor, you can do it if you want, and you can pull it down if you don't. I won't force you either. You can go. Zhang Yi waved his hand to see off the guests. Liang Yu was anxious instead. With such a good opportunity in front of her, she certainly didn't want to miss it. She must be very happy to just teach Zhang Yi martial arts in exchange for food. No, I'm willing. Zhang Yi looked at Liang Yu with a flustered expression and laughed in his heart. This female teacher with strong combat effectiveness and cute and straightforward, he is determined. Chapter 332 Databases. Zhang Yi and Liang Yu made an appointment to come to the shelter every day and teach him kung fu for more than 2 hours. In exchange, he can provide Liang Yu with food for 10 people. This isn't exactly a trick. Although Zhang Yi intends to win over Liang Yu and make her a person beside him. But he does have plans to learn martial arts and improve his close combat strength. After all, nowadays, his biggest weakness is that he is not strong enough in melee combat. Being able to study with this former 20th Hay bodyguard for a period of time must have benefited a lot, and it may save his life in the future. Food for 10. Liang Yu hesitated after listening. Because there are 16 people including her and those students, the food for only 10 people is definitely not enough for everyone. Can you give me a few more copies? There are 16 of us in total. Liang Yu begged. Zhang Yi smiled faintly. Mr. Liang, I hope you can understand my difficulties. This is not a one-time supply, but food for 10 people per day. Besides, you don't want your students to be lazy and rely on my assistance to survive? Zhang Yi naturally had his purpose in doing so. First of all, the first point, don't let those students eat too much. People who eat too much are prone to overthinking, especially inappropriate thoughts. Secondly, only by letting them see a little bit of hope, but they will never be satisfied. Can Zhang Yi firmly hold everyone including Liang Yu? After hearing Zhang Yi's words, Liang Yu's face suddenly showed embarrassment. That's right, she herself said that she would solve the problem of survival with the students. As a result, even the food has to be provided by Zhang Yi. Isn't this a slap in the face? Okay, 10 servings is 10 servings. Liang Yu also made up his mind. Take part of the food from Zhang Yi and let the students work hard to get part of it themselves. In this way, it will not be difficult to survive due to insufficient food. Liang Yu accepted Zhang Yi's suggestion. She put away the food and hurried back to Zujia town. Those students had been hungry all day and they were curled up in the igloo at this time, and some people might starve to death a little later. Zhang Yi pulled a blanket from behind the sofa, covered his body, and lay down on the sofa watching TV bored. At this moment, the sound of a wheelchair rolling could be heard. Zhang Yi looked not far away. Luke Karen pushed Yang Xingxin slowly towards this side. Zhang Yi smiled slightly. You came a bit late. Your teacher Liang just left. Yang Xingxin smiled lightly. No, I came here because she left. Oh. Don't you want to have a chat with your teacher? Zhang Yi asked. Yang Xingxin shook her head. If we are present, it will affect your negotiation with her, because of the two of us. Zhang Yi smiled without saying a word. If it is a major decision, he will never influence his thoughts, because of the presence of anyone. Yang Xingxin approached Zhang Yi, and she suddenly asked, Brother, do you want to pick on teacher Liang? Zhang Yi was drinking coffee at first. When he heard this sentence, the coffee almost choked out of his nose. Cough cough cough. Why are you asking such a question all of a sudden? Zhang Yi tried his best to keep his expression calm, but his actions have exposed his heart. To be honest, Liang Yu is pretty, but also cute and powerful. Such a woman would be of great use if she could stay by her side. Turning her into her own shape is actually a very good option. Zhang Yi does have this idea, but he will not force it. Yang Xingxin pursed her lips slightly, and Luke Karen's eyes shook strangely, but she quickly covered it up with a smile. Ha ha ha, brother, you are too bothered. You already have 2 older sisters, but you still want to get our teacher's idea. But Yang Xingxin analyzed seriously, from the perspective of the development of human civilization to the present, this is indeed the most direct and effective way to form an alliance. Ms. Liang is very powerful, and from the perspective of women, she is also very attractive to the opposite sex. Plus her small and pitiful brain. She looked at Zhang Yi playfully. Actually, it's not surprising that you would have her idea, brother. People with too high IQ can maintain reason when analyzing things. So Yang Xingxin thinks that it is right for Zhang Yi to want to make Liang Yu his own. After Zhang Yi finished listening, he felt that he had met a bosom friend. He has no leisure time to play the game of love. This thing can be regarded as the condiment of life, but it is not a necessity. If Liang Yu was just a beautiful teacher with a sense of justice, Zhang Yi wouldn't even look at her more. Isn't Zhang Yi greedy for her force value? Zhang Yi calmly said to Yang Xingxin and Luke Karen, you two are very smart, so I won't play around with you. Liang Yu's fighting power is very strong, which is very useful to me. So I plan to incorporate her and let her become a member of our team. As for the emotion between men and women, that doesn't exist. I only have pure use value and desire in my heart. Zhang Yi thought secretly. He didn't mind what happened to Liang Yu if it would help him get Liang Yu. But this kind of thing is dispensable, not the most critical factor. After Yang Xingxin finished listening, she confirmed that Zhang Yi was still that rational man who was almost indifferent, so she smiled in relief. Well, I understand. If this is the case, brother, you should work hard. Xingxin will help you too. She smiled brightly. Help me? Zhang Yi asked with a smile. The smile on the corner of Yang Xingxin's mouth was a bit mysterious. We know more about what kind of person teacher Liang is than you. Xingxin knows very well how to persuade her to become a member of us. Zhang Yi couldn't help coughing. Actually, there's no need to make such a trouble. Just relying on our conditions, it's not difficult to make her fall in love. Yang Xingxin nodded in agreement, but suddenly said, it's hard to help her get rid of those troublesome oil bottles. On this issue, several people's ideas coincided with each other. Those surviving students had done bad things to Yang Xingxin before. Yang Xingchen doesn't like them at all and thinks they are all burdens. Zhang Yi shrugged. Don't even think about touching them for the time being. I don't want to make the relationship too rigid with Liang Yu. With her brain, if she finds out that I killed her student, she will follow me regardless. Fate. There will be a chance. Yang Xingchen quietly left such a sentence. Her black eyes were shining brightly, sharp as knives and somewhat cold. Zhang Yi said with a smile, if you have an idea, just go ahead and do it. As long as Liang Yu doesn't find out. Yeah, I got it. Yang Xingchen nodded. By the way, brother Zhang Yi, there is one more thing I want to tell you. Yang Xingchen was planning to leave, but before leaving, she turned her head and said to Zhang Yi, well, what's the matter? Zhang Yi looked at Yang Xingchen curiously. Yang Xingchen said, in the past few days, I have been checking the information database of the Zishan base. After all, the Zishan base was officially built by the government in the past. They have complete equipment and a greater amount of information. I want to see if there is any useful information. As a result, I really discovered a lot of interesting information. I believe you will be interested. Zhang Yi couldn't help sitting up straight when he heard the words. What information? Chen Zinian was once a high-ranking figure in Qianhai City, so he must know much more information than him. Zhang Yi's sources of information are relatively scarce. Therefore, he eagerly hopes to learn more about the end times, as well as information about Qianhai City and its surrounding areas. The Battle of Zishan Base has fully proved the importance of intelligence. Yang Xingchen smiled mysteriously. There is too much information, and I haven't sorted it out yet. I just want to tell you in advance, so that you can be mentally prepared. However, based on what we have obtained so far, we can be sure that there must be more than one powerful armed organization like Zishan Base in Qianhai City. Yang Xingchen's gaze was a bit deep. Brother Zhang Yi, we made such a big noise before. Do you think it will attract people from other forces? Chapter 333 Defense Plan. Zhang Yi frowned slightly at Yang Xingchen's words. I know that. He spread his hands and said calmly, in such a big Qianhai city, it is impossible to have only one powerful armed force in the Zishan base. After all, this is a huge city with 2,000 million people. Even if only 5% of the people survive, there are millions of people. Yang Xingchen smile deepened. There are still differences between forces. What if there are more forces as powerful as the Zishan base? Zhang Yi looked up at the ceiling. The chandelier above was an expensive luxury, worth tens of millions. You won't be so unlucky that you will have conflicts with other forces, right? However, Zhang Yi suddenly changed the subject. We don't cause trouble, and we are not afraid of trouble. If we really encounter other forces, with our current strength, we really won't be afraid. Counting Liang Yu, they have a total of 5 aliens, mutated creatures. Any force that wants to be an enemy of them has to weigh it carefully. I understand. Yang Xingchen nodded. I will sort out all the materials as soon as possible and then hand them over to you, brother. Well, hard work. After Zhang Yi finished speaking, he turned to look at Lu Karen. Karen, come here. Lu Karen pointed to his nose with some surprise on his face. Brother, if you need me to do anything, just ask. In this battle of Zishan, she felt that she did not help much, and she was still a little ashamed in her heart. Zhang Yi said to her, it's like this. Now young Mana is not only living with our family. Fatty Zhu and Uncle Yu's family have moved here, and they are around. If one day I encounter foreign enemies again, I don't want to be the same as before. I can only passively defend. So I would like to ask you to help me design a blueprint for fortifications. Then we will build a line of defense around the 3 houses to defend against the enemy. Lu Karen was a little puzzled and said, the design drawings are simple, but if we want to build a large-scale fortification, we alone are not enough. Not to mention the lack of large-scale machinery and equipment, and the transportation of materials is also very troublesome. Zhang Yi smiled and said, what do you think we lack? He snapped his fingers. Transporting materials. I can do it. Someone needs to contribute, and Uncle Yu is here. Fatty Zhu can control the ice and snow, and you can also use it. If you need to cut materials, call Liang Yu. Hua can also help with some physical work. Do you think it is still a problem? After thinking about it for a while, Lu Karen couldn't help admiring. That's right. Although we are few in number, all of us have unique skills. It seems that it is not impossible to build an indestructible line of defense now. Zhang Yi nodded. You design first, and then tell me what materials you need, and how to work, and I will solve it. Yeah, I see. Luke, Karen and Yang Xingxin got new assignments, so they returned to their studios, and started to get busy. In the next few days, Zhang Yi was still recuperating. With the caring care of Zhao, a great doctor, and the reasonable arrangement of nutritious meals, Zhang Yi recovered very quickly. Within a few days, the discomfort in the body disappeared. So, he started working in a new place again. In the past month or so, because he had to face the threat of the Zishan base, he somewhat neglected Yang Mi and Zhao. Now that he has more time and energy, of course he has to make up for the two of them. When eating the next morning, Yang Mi and Zhao were all smiling, their faces were radiant, and their spirits were fuller than before. Zhang Yi sat on the sofa and watched TV. After the two women had been busy in the kitchen for a while, they brought breakfast to his side. Zhang Yi, eat something to make up for it. Zhao looked at him winkingly, thinking of what happened last night. Her face was full of satisfaction. She walked over with a bowl of soup. Zhang Yi took it, opened it, and found that there were some good nourishing things inside. Just kidding. Zhang Yi, need to use these things? Zhang Yi smiled disapprovingly, then drank most of the bowl in one gulp. Needless to say, I was quite tired last night. Luke Karen pushed Yang Xingxin over to have breakfast. When passing by the island kitchen, Yang Mi covered her mouth and yelled when she saw their faces. Oh, what happened to you two last night? You looked so bad. Luke Karen and Yang Xingxin turned their heads away, not knowing how to explain. But they said in their hearts, what's going on? Haven't you counted in your heart? Their rooms are not far away. Although the sound insulation effect is relatively good, they can still hear loud noises. It was another happy day. A family of 5 had breakfast in the living room. Now the sanctuary has returned to what it used to be. The gorgeous villa is peaceful and life is very comfortable. As for Uncle Yu and Fatty Zhu, Zhang Yi has already provided them with a lot of food, generators, fuel oil, coal and other things in their house. Let them clean up their own house. They only need to solve the problem of food and heating. In fact, other configurations in the villa are very advanced. After all, it is the premier luxury villa area in Xianhai City, and the house has everything needed for life. However, Zhang Yi still gave Fatty Zhu special care. This kid is still emotionally hurt and a little bit afraid of women, so Zhang Yi gave him a neon limited edition high-end latex imitation girlfriend. It is the kind of high-end product with heat preservation function and intelligent voice. It works best when used with VR glasses. As a friend, Zhang Yi can only help him to this extent. After breakfast, not long after, Uncle Yu and Fatty Zhu came over to visit. Humans are social animals and need to socialize, otherwise they will easily develop psychological problems after a long time. We are all neighbors now and teammates who have experienced life and death battles, so the relationship is naturally better than before. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Zhang Yi called Uncle Yu and Fatty Zhu over and chatted with them about his idea of building a defense line. Create a solid line of defense around us with the 3 of us at the center. This is for someone to attack by surprise, and we don't have time to fight back. It doesn't need to be as strong as my shelter, but at least it can give you time to escape to the shelter. In this way, if we encounter a strong enemy one day, we will no longer be so passive. Even if the first line of defense is breached, we can retreat to the shelter and continue to defend. Zhang Yi expressed his thoughts. After Uncle Yu and Fatty Zhu finished listening, they nodded in agreement. They are the biggest beneficiaries of this plan. Fatty Zhu said happily on the spot, brother, the two of us really want to go together. To be honest, I'm really worried that one night, when I fall asleep, someone will break in and point a gun to my head. As a veteran, Uncle Yu put forward his own views. Since we want to build a defense line, we can't just focus on defense. We must also have a certain counter-attack ability. My suggestion is to arrange strong firepower around the defense line. Fatty Zhu asked back, how to deal with weapons and ammunition? Zhang Yi said, this question is simple. Combustible materials can be used to make bullets, and I have a lot of firearms. However, considering that it must be a powerful armed force that dares to attack us, heavy firepower is needed. Zhang Yi rubbed his chin and said decisively, in a few days, when we recover to our best condition, let's go to the ruins of the Zishan base together. There are many good things there. Although the Zishan base was blown up by Zhang Yi's tricks, according to the analysis of the engineering data of the Zishan base, that kind of equivalent explosion could not completely destroy the fortifications of the Zishan base. Therefore, Zhang Yi's goal at the beginning was to kill all the people inside through the explosion. But such a huge base has too much underground space, and most of the areas should be well preserved. And there are a lot of weapons and equipment inside, and there must be heavy firearms among them. Uncle Yu and Fatty Zhu naturally had no objections, and nodded in agreement. As for the problem of building materials, it can actually be solved through the Zishan base. Uncle Yu suggested, according to the defense capability of Zishan base, it will not be much worse than your shelter. We can dismantle some materials and come over to strengthen our defense line. Zhang Yi frowned and questioned, their crafts are all one piece pouring. How can it be so easy to disassemble? Uncle Yu thought for a while, then said helplessly, but where else can we get so many building materials? To build fortifications, at least there must be reinforced concrete. Without these, is it possible that we use snow to build defense lines? Uncle Yu joked humorously. But this sentence reminded Zhang Yi. He looked at Fatty Zhu and said meaningfully, perhaps using ice to build a defense line is also a good choice. Zhang Yi and the two expressed their thoughts. On the opposite side is the Lujiang River. We can intercept a large amount of ice from the Lujiang River as a city wall and build a defense line. Under the temperature outside, ice cubes don't need to worry about melting, and it's easy to repair. It's actually a very good material. At that time, we can add some steel bars inside as a skeleton, and then we can easily and conveniently construct a city wall of ice and snow. Chapter 334 Private Tutoring. The three of Zhang Yi discussed the plan to build a defense line. The women in the family gathered together and were led by Zhao Heimei to play mahjong together. When Zhao Ke came to fetch the hot water, he heard the discussion of the three people and couldn't help laughing. Now that the Zishan base has been wiped out, you are more cautious than before. She felt that there would be at least a longer period of peace in the future. After all, organizations as powerful as the Zishan base have been wiped out, and even if there are other armed forces, they must not dare to approach this place easily. But Zhang Yi said, be careful sailing for thousands of years. We can't expect others to do it, but we can do our best in our own safety measures. In the last days, it is very important to take safety measures. Three people never tired of it. Men are always passionate about topics like architecture, cars, and women. Even if nothing happened, the three of them wanted to build a city wall for fun. This is called the combination of hobby and reality, which is perfect. Fatty Zhu asked, boss, do you think there will really be armed forces with no eyesight coming here? It's impossible for Xianhe City to have a stronger force than Zishan base. Fatty Zhu has a theoretical basis for saying this. The Zishan base controls the only garrison force in Xianhe City, and it can be called the most powerful armed organization in Xianhe City. Zhang Yi smiled lightly. Fatty, you forgot to consider a situation. He reached out his hand on the table and nodded, and said playfully, it is true that the Zishan base was wiped out by us. But other people may not know about this matter. In the eyes of outsiders, we are just a group of ordinary people, not even considered powerful. Fatty Zhu suddenly realized, it does make sense. Then let's quickly build a defense line. Speaking of which, I'm really a little scared. Zhang Yi nodded, and did not intend to delay any further. The sooner the line of defense is built, their sense of security will increase by 1 point. He asked, Fatty, Uncle Yu, are you in the best physical condition now? Uncle Yu patted his chest. My body has been fine for a long time, and the side effects of that little drug have no effect on me. Zhang Yi smiled and said, doesn't that mean that the effect of stimulants is not great for you? There are still some effects. Uncle Yu replied. At this time, Fatty Zhu hurriedly spoke, I still have to recover, and I feel that my body is getting weaker and weaker recently. Zhang Yi glanced at him meaningfully. Have you overused the simulated girlfriend I gave you? Fatty Zhu blushed, as if he had been poked at the center. What do you mean by overdoing it? Single dog matters. Resolving loneliness. That's called resolving loneliness. It's not overindulgence. The living room was filled with pleasant laughter again. Only when Fatty Zoo came could everyone be so happy. But when he's not around, everyone does the same. My physical fitness has almost recovered. How about it? 3 days later, we will go to the Zishan base together and search for everything that can be used there. No problem, boss. Then give me a few boxes of Liu Wei De Huan and I will make up for it. Zhang Yi said very understandingly. I'll give you 2 more packs of wolfberry. You can go back and eat it. Boss, you still treat me well. Fatty Zoo was very grateful. The 3 of them chatted casually for a while again. How to build a more perfect defense line so that they can effectively defend against the enemy's attack. However, after experiencing the siege of the Zishan base special forces, Zhang Yi's mentality has also undergone a huge change at this time. Even if he faced such a large-scale battle in the future, he would not feel flustered in his heart. Especially after devouring Ling Feng and several special forces members, his personal strength has also been greatly improved. Self-confidence comes from strong strength. After a while, Liang Yu came over and rang the doorbell. Isn't this teacher Liang? What is she here for? Fatty Zoo rubbed his chin and suddenly thought of something, winking at Zhang Yi. Boss, could it be you who took her into? The corner of Zhang Yi's mouth raised. Look at what you said. Zhang Yi, I'm not that kind of person either. We are a pure man-woman relationship. She is my tutor, understand? Uncle Yu chuckled. Is it still pure? After being in a relationship with a man and a woman, you guys are playing really well. Fatty Zoo, on the other hand, savored the tutor Zhang Yi said, and the images of many teachers involuntarily appeared in his mind. Boss, you really know how to play. Fatty Zoo said with a look of admiration. Zhang Yi ignored the ambiguous gazes of the 2 men and opened the door for Liang Yu to let her in. After Liang Yu entered, she found that the place was extremely lively and everyone was there. The men gather and chat over tea. The women played mahjong together and chatted about gossip. This warm atmosphere made her feel as if she had entered another world. You know, she was with the group of students in Zujia town, but she was worried about being a father and a mother in the severe cold of -4 degrees. Involuntarily, Liang Yu was very envious of Zhao Ke and the others. Lu Karen and Yang Xingchen came to greet Liang Yu enthusiastically. They still have a lot of respect for this teacher in their hearts. People who can uphold the kindness in their hearts in the last days are even rarer than national treasures. She's a Madonna, not a Madonna bitch. The gap between the 2 is huge. Our ladies approaches. They need help. I'm going to help them. What the holy mother bitch does is, they need help, and you are going to help them. Liang Yu is a little overprotective of her students, but she relies on her own strength to do so, rather than kidnapping others morally. Liang Yu saw that her 2 students were doing well, with a gentle smile on her face. Seeing that you are living so well now, I'm relieved. Yang Xingchen smiled sweetly and said, well, brother Zhang Yi is very kind to us. We live very happily here. As she said that, she took Liang Yu's hand with regret, looked at her sincerely and said, Mr. Liang, you must have worked hard outside, right? If you want, I can intercede with my brother and let you come with us live. Xingchen misses you so much. Liang Yu has always loved Yang Xingchen very much. This is because Yang Xingchen's legs are disabled. Hearing Yang Xingchen's words at this time, her heart was shaken a little. But thinking of the students in Zujia town, she shook her head helplessly and refused. I can't leave. Now that I'm gone, it's very difficult for other students to survive in such a harsh environment. As a teacher, at least I have to teach them how to adapt to the environment and gain the ability to survive. Yang Xingchen nodded. Teacher Yang, you are still as gentle as before. However, these 2 things have no effect. She explained with a smile. You can help them if you live in the shelter. After all, they are also old, so they won't be unable to leave you for a moment. On the contrary, Teacher Liang, if you really want them to become independent, you have to let them learn how to survive in the last days. Mr. Liang, do you think what Xingchen said makes sense? Liang Yu's eyes shook. Obviously she was very moved by what Yang Xingchen said. But, Zhang Yi won't agree to let me live in. She scratched her cheek in embarrassment. I don't know him very well either. Also, if I live in the shelter by myself and let Wu Chenggai and the others stay outside, wouldn't that be too good? Yang Xingxin looked at Liang Yu with a smile, knowing that her teacher had already moved her heart. Xingxin will go to brother Zhang Yi to intercede for this matter. As for the other students, teacher, no matter where you live, their living environment will not change. Wouldn't it be selfish for them to prevent you from coming to the shelter? The little devil is good at seduction. She is confident that, as long as Liang Yu lives in the shelter, it will be impossible to leave. Liang Yu is just responsible, not stupid. Being used to living in such a comfortable environment, it is naturally impossible to want to go back to the ice and snow outside. As long as Liang Yu is called over, the other students outside will lose their protection. Then if there is a chance in the future, they can all be dealt with. Yang Xingxin made a plan in her heart, and the smile on her face became more and more harmless to humans and animals. I'll think about it again. Liang Yu said this on the lips, but his heart was already a little moved. Yang Xingxin knew that the heat was enough, and if she tried to persuade her again, it would be counterproductive, so she didn't say any more. She smiled lightly, nodded innocently, and said with a smile, "Okay, Teacher Liang. If you make a decision, remember to tell Xingxin." "Okay, alright." Liang Yu laughed. Not far away, Zhang Yi got up from the sofa and walked towards Liang Yu. Although he didn't know what Liang Yu and Yang Xingxin said, Yang Xingxin was definitely helping him win over Liang Yu. "Liang Yu, let's go down. There are too many people here, it's inconvenient." Zhang Yi smiled and said to Liang Yu. These words made the women playing cards next to him look sideways. Liang Yu blushed, feeling that Zhang Yi's words could easily misunderstand others. But after thinking about it carefully, there seemed to be nothing wrong with his words, so he nodded and followed Zhang Yi to the basement. The two came to the stadium on the third floor underground. Zhang Yi glanced at Liang Yu's worn clothes, then took out a whole set of clothes from another space and handed them to her. Down jackets, cardigans, thermal underwear, sneakers, even thoughtful to underwear and socks. Of course, sweatshirts for indoor sports are indispensable. "There's a bathroom here, go take a shower first." Zhang Yi pointed to the bathroom not far away and said. Liang Yu blushed violently. Although she is a powerful martial arts master, she is also a woman. Although Zhang Yi didn't directly say that she felt unclean, she would think so in her heart. She could only lower her head and whisper, "I don't have the conditions to change into new clothes and take a hot bath outside." Zhang Yi smiled. "I didn't say anything. You think too much." Liang Yu blushed, flicked her ponytail, picked up her clothes, and went to take a bath. After a while, she took a shower and changed into the sportswear that Zhang Yi had prepared for her. The upper body is a grey sports vest, revealing healthy wheat-colored skin, and the waistcoat line of her abdomen can be clearly seen. The lower body is a pair of black slim-fitting sweatpants. The strong and clean lines, if not for years of exercise, would not have such perfect curves. A black sweatband was tied on her head, exposing her white and shiny forehead, which added a bit of heroism to her already resolute expression. Looking at Liang Yu's appearance at this time, Zhang Yi nodded in satisfaction. "Teacher Liang, let's start." Liang Yu stared at Zhang Yi with an imperceptible smirk on the corner of her mouth. Learning martial arts is very hard. You have to be mentally prepared. Chapter 335. What Liang Yu teaches is true teaching. Because Zhang Yi was kind to her, she also wanted to repay Zhang Yi in this way. However, it is not easy to learn real kung fu. At the very least, first of all, you have to start training from being beaten, and you must improve your body's defense power. Fortunately, Zhang Yi had been exercising regularly before, and his physical fitness was excellent, so he was able to keep up with Liang Yu's rhythm. After 2.5 hours of practice, he was sweating profusely, and his whole body was sore. Your foundation is still good, but if you want to practice kung fu, you can't succeed overnight. You have to be mentally prepared. Liang Yu wiped the sweat from her forehead and said to Zhang Yi, "I don't really expect to become a martial arts master, but I just want to have an extra means to save my life." Zhang Yi sat on the sponge cushion, panting. Liang Yu couldn't help but said, "Even Ling Feng was killed by you. I'm afraid few people can threaten your life." The corner of Zhang Yi's mouth twitched, and he said lightly, "This world is full of accidents. No one should make fun of his own life." Why he was able to win against Ling Feng, He knew it well. It relies entirely on poor information and a lot of preparation in advance. If two people don't know each other's abilities and have an encounter in an unfamiliar environment, Zhang Yi is really not sure that he can win against Lingfeng. Once his dimensional gate can't reach Lingfeng, then he will surely die. Let's continue tomorrow. I can't stand it anymore today. Zhang Yi stood up. Take out a bag of food from the different space, which is probably enough for 10 people to barely eat. He has always kept his word. Zhang Yi left the bathroom below to Liang Yu and went upstairs to take a bath by himself. Liang Yu looked at Zhang Yi, who was going upstairs, and couldn't help but think of Yang Xingxin's proposal. If those words came from Zhang Yi's mouth, she would definitely worry about some conspiracy. However, she really couldn't suspect that the innocent girl with paralyzed legs would have any bad intentions. Can I come and live here? Liang Yu was a little uncertain in her heart. She didn't really like living a life of being dependent on others. But in this place, it is really too comfortable. During the battle between heaven and man, her heart has actually begun to tilt. After Liang Yu left, Fatty Zhu came over and asked Zhang Yi, "Boss, if you go to the Zishan base the day after tomorrow, should you call Liang Yu along? One more person means more security." To be honest, although we concluded that there are no living people in the Zishan base, but no one went down to see it. It's really hard to say. Uncle Yu couldn't help laughing and teasing him. "Xiao Zhu, you are really too timid. You are not much bigger than a mouse." Fatty Zhu chuckled. "Be careful when sailing for 10,000 years. This is what the boss taught me." Zhang Yi smiled and said, "There is nothing wrong with what Fatty Zhu said. But it is not appropriate to call Liang Yu now. She's not one of us yet. The relationship between me and her is just cooperation. If we ask her to help, I owe her a favor. It's unnecessary. It's enough for a few of us to go there. It's just searching the ruins, and there is no risk." Even Lingfeng and other captain level aliens were wiped out, and the leader Chen Xinian was burned to ashes by Zhang Yi. It is unlikely that there is any artificial risk in the base. On the other side, Liang Yu left the shelter with mixed feelings. On the way back, she was also thinking about what Yang Xingxin said in her heart. Can I live in a shelter? Thinking of the superior living conditions in the shelter, it would be a lie to say that you are not tempted. But she needs to discuss this matter with the students. Liang Yu always feels that as a teacher of the people, she needs to consider the feelings of the students. In fact, what Yang Xingxin said made a lot of sense. Whether she lives in the shelter or not, it will not have any impact on the living environment of the students. Anyway, it is impossible for Zhang Yi to let them all live in the shelter. In this case, it's not impossible for me to live with Zhang Yi and the others. Well, let's discuss it with them and ask them what they think. Actually, if you think about it carefully, we really need to get closer to Zhang Yi now, so that Zhang Yi can help everyone more. The more Liang Yu thought about it, the more she felt that it was reasonable to do so. In the words of Zhang Yi before, Liang Yu is also eager to enjoy life. She just needs a reason to convince herself. Liang Yu returned to Zujia town. When she put the food from Zhang Yi in front of the students, the hungry students suddenly exclaimed, "Great! We have something to eat." Everyone rushed forward and looted. Seeing them like this, Liang Yu sighed slightly in his heart. She looked at Yu Xiaoshan and Wu Chengyu, who are now responsible for helping her manage all the students. Yu Xiaoshan was transformed by the Zishan base, and he is the students' military force. And Wu Chengyu's mind is easier to use, and he was the squad leader before, so he is considered intellectually responsible. Yu Xiaoshan, Wu Chengyu, I asked you to organize your classmates to dig ice and fish in the Lujiang River this morning. How are you doing? Wu Chengyu's eyes dodged a little. Gu Zhuo said to him, "Mr. Liang, you also know that it is hard enough for the students to ride bicycles every day at the Zishan base. Now it's hard for them to catch their breath, and if they are asked to work in the severe cold, they won't be able to do it." Yu Xiaoshan frowned slightly and pointed to the table in the igloo. "I tried to dig out a few. Since the tools are relatively crude, I can only use picks and hoes, so the efficiency is not high." Liang Yu was quite disappointed when she saw the two poor crucian carp on the table. In fact, she herself doesn't know anything about breaking ice to dig fish. At the beginning, the villagers of Zujia town also relied on tools and the power of sled dogs to succeed. Not to mention that these students are inexperienced and the tools are not handy. It is simply a fantasy to rely on this method to get enough food. Liang Yu sighed lightly and said to the two of them, "You have to think of ways to improve the efficiency of fishing. These foods were given to us by Zhang Yi according to the previous agreement, but don't expect them to support us all the time. What will we do when the food is gone? We have to rely on our own efforts to survive in this cold end of the world." Although Zhang Yi promised that, as long as she taught him kung fu, he would provide some food. But who is Zhang Yi? He never traded at a loss. The food provided was limited, and it was impossible to satisfy the rations of a dozen people. Sure enough, after the students finished distributing the food, they all complained when they saw how little things they had in their hands. "Why is there such a small amount of food? Teacher Liang, we don't have enough to eat at all. In such cold weather, it is easy to get sick if you don't eat enough." Yi Ocean hurriedly said, "Everyone, let's get over it. Even these foods." Mr. Liang finally made Zhang Yi want to come. "We can't always rely on others to live. We have to use our own hands to get food. Everyone think about it after eating. What can we do to solve the food problem?" Classmates, you look at me, and I look at you, with reluctance on their faces. In such a cold day, it is too hard to run to the ice, to break the ice under the cold wind and snow. What's more, they still don't have enough to eat, let alone have the strength. Wu Chenggai looked at Liang Yu and suddenly said, "Teacher Liang, since you can go to teach Zhang Yi martial arts every day, can you intercede with Zhang Yi and let us live in his shelter? Look, both Lu Karen and Yang Xingxin can live in. We are all in the same class. From the perspective of this relationship, it shouldn't be too much to let us live in too." Hearing Wu Chenggai's words, the eyes of other students lit up immediately. Yes, his shelter is so big, there are only a dozen of us, so we must be able to live there. The big deal is that we can eat less food and help him with his work. Yang Xingxin and Lu Karen can live in it, why can't we? These students used to be the children of important figures in Xianhei City, and they looked down on Yang Xingxin and Lu Karen in their hearts. Therefore, they took it for granted that they wanted to enjoy better living conditions than Yang and Lu. Liang Yu was a little speechless in her heart. She explained, "You are not like them. Yang Xingxin is the younger sister of Zhang Yi's girlfriend, and Lu Karen is Yang Xingxin's best friend. This relationship is incomparable to you, and both of them have strong professional skills. Zhang Yi is willing to let them live in the shelter. As for you, do you have these two aspects?" The students were very reluctant. It's not that they don't know this truth. It's just that they are not reconciled. He watched helplessly that the heavenly sanctuary was on the other side of the river, but he could only live in the snow house and eat the food donated by others. "Teacher Liang, try harder. You are our teacher, there must be a way." Everyone pinned their hopes for a better life on Liang Yu. Those eager eyes stared at Liang Yu, which invisibly brought enormous pressure on Liang Yu. She had planned to discuss Yang Xingxin's invitation to live in the shelter with the students, but now she couldn't open her mouth. 3 days passed quickly. Zhang Yi, Fatty Zhu, and Uncle Yu recovered to their best physical condition. The three of them packed up their equipment and planned to go to the Zishan base to see how many useful materials they could recover. And Lu Karen also changed several editions of the design drawings of the defense line. After Zhang Yi's approval, the final version was decided. As long as Zhang Yi and the others can bring back building materials, they can start building the defense line. By the way, is there a way to repair our exterior walls? Zhang Yi did not forget the part of the outer wall that was destroyed by the special forces. Lu Karen said, when it was built, it was poured in one piece. It will be more difficult to repair, but it will take some time. It's just that the materials needed are more complicated. Zhang Yi nodded. There is no rush to repair the outer wall. The degree of damage is about 20%, which will not affect life. You make a list of the materials you need, and we will go to the building materials company in the urban area to look for them later. Yes, big brother. Lu Karen saluted playfully and cutely. Zhang Yi couldn't help but pinch her nose with a smile. Good job. Chapter 336 3 organizations. Zhang Yi, Uncle Yu, and Fatty Zhu, together with Zhang Yi's loyal war pet Uata, 4 aliens, alien creatures, set off for the Zishan base. Several people got on the snowmobile. Huahua sat on Zhang Yi's lap, and Zhang Yi directly turned on the automatic driving mode. It's not the first time to go to Zishan base, and the mood of several people is relatively relaxed. Fatty Zhu looked at Huahua, blinked his eyes, and asked Zhang Yi, "Boss, why do I feel that Huahua is different?" Zhang Yi looked down at the cute cat lying on his lap, and reached out to stroke its soft hair. "Oh, what's different?" Fatty Zhu thought for a long time, then shook his head. "I can't say it. It's just a feeling. It seems that some subtle changes have taken place. That's natural." Zhang Yi smiled deeply. Although Zhang Yi doesn't know the reason at the moment, some of the mutated creatures have the ability to phagocytize. For example, he, Lingfeng, and Huahua all have the ability to devour other people's power to evolve themselves. Last time, Huahua devoured several aliens, but now its ability is even stronger. However, what level has been reached can only be known after fighting. After all, he has no way to communicate with cats. After Zhang Yi, the three of them, and one cat left, Yang Xingxin suddenly pushed a wheelchair out of her studio after a while. When she came to the living room, she happened to see Zhao Kenna watching TV, so she asked, "Where's brother?" Zhao Kenna blinked and said, "A few of them have gone to Zishan base to collect materials. Do you have anything to do with him?" Yang Xingxin frowned slightly. "I sorted out some of the materials, and I want my brother to take a look." "Forget it. Let's talk about it when he comes back." Zhao Kenna came over curiously and asked Yang Xingxin with a smile, "What interesting information? Let me take a look first." Yang Xingxin rolled her eyes and said with a sneer, "Cousin, you are not a combatant, so it's useless to let you know." Zhao Kenna's face puffed up in anger. "HMPH, I'm an important logistics support staff. Don't look down on me." Slightly, Yang Xingxin made a face at Zhao Kenna, then turned the wheelchair and walked away. She will not tell others important information, only Zhang Yi. She also has her own thoughts in this. That is, for Zhang Yi, the greatest value she can provide is intelligence and network security. What if I tell Zhao Kenna and she takes credit for it? Yang Xingxin thought for a while, and after returning to the studio, she used the console's supercomputer to contact Zhang Yi, who was on the way. "Hey, brother, have you arrived at the Zishan base yet?" Zhang Yi received the news from Yang Xingxin, glanced at the white snow outside, and said, "Not yet. It's probably half the way. Well, there is something I just found out, and I need to report it to my brother." "Oh, it seems to be very important information." Zhang Yi smiled and said, "Say it, I'm listening carefully." "Well, I have found information about other large armed forces in Xianhe City. Since you have gone out, brother, I will tell you here to let you understand. In case you meet outside, you won't be unprepared." Zhang Yi's gaze became more serious. "Okay, tell me." Yang Xingxin said, "According to the information from the Zishan base, there are 4 large-scale militarized shelters in Xianhe City. They are located in the 4 areas of Zishan, Qingpu, Yangsheng, and Chaoyu. They were all officially established many years ago and have been maintained. The purpose of their existence is to deal with sudden outbreaks of war and natural disasters. According to the information from Zishan base, the other 3 shelters also have a powerful underground shelter space, a huge arsenal, and a large amount of war preparation materials." Zhang Yi nodded. "I know this. This information is not surprising. In fact, after living in Xianhe City for many years, there have always been such rumors from the outside world." He even remembered that many years ago, there was a news report about this incident, revealing some photos of an underground shelter. That is to say, besides the Zishan base, there are 3 large armed forces in Xianhe City, right? Yangsheng, Zaoyu, and Qingpu. These 3 areas are far away from our shelter. Zhang Yi rubbed his chin, but now, there is no guarantee that they have no plans to expand their power in Zishan district and Lujiang district. There was too much movement at the Zishan base that night. It will definitely attract the attention of other forces. Once discovered by them, the Zishan base that ruled the Zishan and Lujiang districts was wiped out, and the possibility of them extending their tentacles here cannot be ruled out. No, besides the 3 of them, there is another special force. Yang Xingxin replied, according to the information of the Zishan base, a large number of people have gathered in areas such as Xianfeng and Changlin, and they have become a force that should not be underestimated. It's just that their records are not very detailed. Zhang Yi nodded. It's not surprising. There are so many people in Xianhe City. Even if there are dozens of separatist forces, it's normal. However, it seems that the understanding between the major forces is not very deep. Maybe it's because the time for the end of the world is too short, and they are already at a loss to deal with their own survival and development issues. As far as Zhang Yi learned, the Zishan base did not even have all the information on the surrounding urban areas until it was destroyed, including the crusade against him. It should be regarded as an act of cleaning up their sphere of influence. The other forces should be similar. Very good, Xingxin. The information you provided is very useful. After Yang Xingxin was praised by Zhang Yi, she blushed happily and said with a smile, brother, I will continue to sort out information about them. When you come back, can Xingxin report to you properly? Zhang Yi smiled and nodded. Well, of course. After finishing the call, Zhang Yi saw Fatty Zhu and Uncle Yu with curious faces. Zhang Yi didn't hide anything from them and directly shared what Yang Xingxin told him with the two of them. The other armed forces in Xianhe City are actually on the same scale as the Zishan base. It's a little troublesome. It's best not to get involved, Fatty Zhu said with some worry. But Zhang Yi said calmly, it's just expected. But Xianhe City is so big, as long as we don't take the initiative to provoke them, I believe there will be no conflicts. Now at least, % of the people in Xianhe City are dead, and the remaining supplies are enough for the living forces to share. Everyone cherishes their lives, and there is no need to fight against each other. Uncle Yu, who had been silent all this time, suddenly said with emotion, I'm afraid that things will not go as smoothly as expected. I always feel that we will meet them soon. Chapter 337 Returning to Zishan. In fact, not only Uncle Yu, Zhang Yi and Fatty Zhu also have a feeling that they are about to come into contact with other large forces. Nothing in this world is accidental, only inevitable and deliberate. The battle at the Zishan base caused too much commotion. It will definitely attract the attention of other forces in Xianhe City. And when they find that there is a vacancy in the power in this area, they will slowly expand their power here. At that time, can Zhang Yi guarantee to live in harmony with them? No one knows how the follow-up will develop. But I only know one thing, as long as we become strong enough, no one will dare to provoke us. Zhang Yi glanced at the two. Let's go to the Zishan base and take away all the weapons there. Okay. The two also nodded very seriously. The car drove through the snow all the way to the long-lost Zishan base. West Hills. Located in the southwest area of Xianhe City, it is a continuous mountain range with an altitude of less than 200 meters. It used to be close to the Xianhe City military region, so after the end of the world, it directly became a refuge under the control of the Xianhe City military region. The four major shelters in Xianhe City are actually near large official institutions. This is for the convenience of allowing personnel of some important units to enter and hide in the event of a war or disaster. Theoretically speaking, the Zishan base is actually the strongest armed force among the four major bases. Because they have a complete armed force, and most of the weapons in the Xianhe City barracks are also collected here. Outside the entrance of Zishan base, there were two groups of people standing in the wind and snow. Their clothes are all snow white, which is specially dyed white, in order to hide their description in snowy weather. One of them was wearing almost the same combat uniform as that of Zishan base. The only difference is that the logo on their clothes is a blue wave, while the Zishan base is a golden sword. Not far from them, the clothes of another group of people are relatively simple. Basically, they are all white thick down jackets, and they are not uniform, as if they were searched temporarily from them all. The two sides were alert to each other, holding weapons tightly in their hands, and did not take their eyes off each other. The entrance to this place has been completely blocked. It seems that it is difficult for us to get anything from below. Among the group of people in combat uniforms, the leader was a tall man with cold eyes. He spoke to the group of people next door. The group of people with inconsistent costumes was led by a thin and small man. He smiled lightly, crossed his arms and said, "Who would have thought that this place was destroyed by missiles? I don't know what Chen Xinian did to offend the Jiangnan region. He deserves it. The tall Wang Ruxuan smiled contemptuously. He has always been arrogant, and this kind of consequences is what he asked for. The little Han Chang didn't pick up the topic, and there wasn't much interaction between their forces and Chen Xinian. Or it can be said that their relationship with the four major refuge base forces is not very good. The purpose of his coming here is just to find out what's going on at the Zishan base. But looking at the scene in front of him, coupled with the terrifying cave left by the huge ground-penetrating missile halfway up the mountain, it can almost be concluded that there are no living people below. Han Chang sighed. It's a waste of time after all. Wang Ruxuan also frowned deeply. The entrance has been completely blocked. There is a lot of rubble and dilapidated cars. It takes a lot of effort to clean it up. Their base camp is too far away, and it is impossible to mobilize people here for the time being. However, the Zishan base is still a big piece of fat. As long as you can open this channel and enter it, you can get a lot of supplies they left behind. Han Chang saw Wang Ruxuan's thoughts and couldn't help but sneered. He said playfully, even if you can use the power of other people to clear this entrance. But with so many supplies, how do you move them back to Zhaoyu Seaport base? He opened his arms, pointing from the east to the southwest. Your base is far from here, but it spans the entire Xianhe city, nearly kilometers away. Wang Ruxuan snorted coldly. Can you do what our Zhaoyu base can't do? Han Chang spread his hands. We didn't have much hope at first. This time we came here just to confirm whether the Zishan base exists. He chuckled. Now that everyone who knows them is finished, that's the best news for us. Look at the people in the other two bases. They are very smart, and they won't waste too much time here at all. However, they are the closest to this place, so they should have come to check it a long time ago. Wang Ruxuan frowned. He had to admit that what Han Chang said made sense. Their Zhaoyu base is too far away from Zishan. Even if they want to come here to pick up the leaks, they can't compare with the distance advantage of Yangsheng base and Qingpu base. Now that the land is covered with ice and snow, a distance of 1 kilometer will cause a lot of trouble in transportation. Han Chang sighed suddenly. It's a pity. It's a pity. The Zishan base has been wiped out this time, but your Zhaoyu base has nothing to do with them. He looked at Wang Ruxuan with a playful face. At that time, people from the Yangsheng and Qingpu bases will still have to be cheap. If they get this territory, they can slowly clean up the legacy of the Zishan base. At that time, wouldn't their strength be the same? Fly to the sky. Among the four major bases, the one with the richest arsenal is naturally the Zishan base. This is also a point that other bases are more envious of. Of course, each of the four major bases has its own advantages. Are you trying to sow discord? Wang Ruxuan said coldly. Han Chang smiled disdainfully. The relationship between the four of you is not harmonious. Do you still need me to provoke it? Wang Ruxuan sneered and said, I don't believe that you worshippers of the snow sect will not be moved by such a big piece of fat. Let the Qingpu base and Yangsheng base be in their pockets. Or, do you have any other conspiracy? Wang Ruxuan's eyes became sharper. He stared at Han Chang, trying to see some strange changes on his face. After the Zishan base was destroyed, it was equivalent to breaking the balance of the entire Xianhe city. Such a large piece of land, in addition to the huge material warehouse owned by the Zishan base itself. There are also various factories, supermarkets and even living people in the area it controls. These are the resources that the major forces covet. Everyone is a sensible person, and then it will be up to each other according to their own abilities. No one needs to pretend to be lofty. Han Chang showed his big white teeth, like a short and sharp flat-headed brother. Just when the two were confronting each other, the sound of a car engine suddenly came from a distance, which attracted everyone's attention. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 338. The first time I saw such an arrogant person. Zhang Yi drove to the entrance of Zishan base. It wasn't until he was about 100 meters away that he vaguely noticed that there seemed to be several people in front of him. After all, it was icy and snowy, and they were standing in white clothes. so it was really hard to notice. But those people saw Zhang Yi's car first. Snowmobile. Wan Ruxuan recognized the car at a glance, and a fiery look flashed in his eyes. In the south, such cars are extremely rare. After the Ice Age came, it became the most convenient means of transportation. Zhao base also has their means of transportation, which are remodeled snowmobiles, but the remodeled vehicles cannot be compared with the genuine ones. Not to mention the driving speed is not fast enough, and the fuel consumption is even greater. Even so, the vehicles in their hands that can be used normally after modification are relatively limited. Han Chan whistled. It looks like someone from another base has arrived. Zhang Yi found them at this time and couldn't help but stare. Someone has come over ahead of time. Fatty Zhu and Uncle Yu also became cautious and prepared to fight. Uncle Yu said in a deep voice, I don't know if it's the other forces that Yang Xingxin mentioned. Fatty Zhu swallowed his saliva. It's hard to say. It might be the surviving residents nearby. Zhang Yi sneered. It's time like this, so don't have unrealistic ideas. How could there be living people around the Zishan base? As long as there are any, let them catch them back and use them as experimental products first, and then make them into high quality protein. Then it may be our enemy. Fatty Zhu was a little nervous. It should be. But so what? The Zishan base was brought down by us. Zhang Yi took out the golden sand eagle and calmly loaded the armor-piercing bullets. Even if we fight now, we have nothing to fear. Although there are unknown enemies, these people cannot be the main force of the other major forces. The four of Zhang Yi and the others are already strong enough to fight now. In the encounter in Xianhe City, they were really not afraid of anyone. The car stopped not far from the Zhao base and the two groups of snow worshippers. The three car doors were opened at the same time, and Zhang Yi and the others walked down from above. At this time, they were also dressed in combat uniforms. With the addition of a strange black cat on Zhang Yi's shoulder, this Lanoop made the Zhao base and the snow worshippers have serious expressions on their faces, not daring to be careless at all. They saw the golden sword logo on the combat uniforms of Zhang Yi and the others, and they regarded Zhang Yi and the others as special forces members of the Zishan base. From the perspective of soldiers and aliens, the Zishan base is the most powerful of the four bases. I thought all the people in the Zishan base were dead. I didn't expect there were still people alive. Wan Ruxuan looked at Zhang Yi and the others and said coldly, everyone is ready to fight at this time, and all three parties are ready to fight. The relationship between the several major camps is rather complicated. Rather than being hostile, it is better to say that they are jealous of each other, and they need to compete for the territory of Xianhe City. Therefore, it is not surprising that who joins forces with whom suddenly, and who will attack whom. Zhang Yi glanced at the outfits of both sides. On one side are people in combat uniforms, and on the other side are people in ordinary clothes. He had a judgment. One of the two parties came from other refuges, and the other should be what Yang Xingxin said, a force formed spontaneously by ordinary people. These two groups of people appeared at the entrance of Zishan base, which made Zhang Yi feel a little troublesome. He doesn't want to conflict with any forces, because now he has enough supplies, and there is no need to compete with others. But the Zishan base was built by him, and the things in it made it impossible for him to surrender. After hearing Wan Ruxuan's words, Zhang Yi had an idea and said, what are you doing here? Could it be that you want to start a war with us in Zishan? Hearing this, Han Chan raised his hands with a smile, and stepped back step by step. Don't get me wrong. We just came here to watch the fun. The snow worship cult has always advocated peace, and does not want to conflict with any forces. After speaking, Han Chan took his own people, and left step by step with a smile. He would never fight a fight without benefits. It's not worth it to have a conflict with Chao base just for a snowmobile. Anyway, the entrance to the Zishan base has been blocked, and you won't get anything if you stay, so it's better to go back. He thought so, but Wan Ruxuan didn't think so. Wan Ruxuan pondered for a moment, then glanced at the Zishan base which had obviously been attacked. He suddenly sneered and said, I'm afraid the Zishan base has been destroyed now? You remnants of Zishan, how dare you talk big here? They have entered the Zishan mountains for a long time. If the Zishan base still maintains a strong combat effectiveness, it is impossible to find it until now. Therefore, Wan Ruxuan directly made a judgment. The few people in front of him were just the remnants of the Zishan base. Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes. The entrance to the Zishan base was blocked by him. Without the abilities of him and Uncle Yu, it would be impossible to clean up the garbage at the entrance and remove the large amount of materials inside. He looked at Wang Ruxuan and said, since you have seen that the Zishan base has been destroyed, there is no need to make sarcastic remarks here. Well, you can do whatever you like. After Zhang Yi finished speaking, he retreated step by step, whispering to Uncle Yu and Fatty Zhu, let's retreat. Anyway, the two groups of people in front of him can't do anything about it. He plans to pretend to leave now and come back after they leave. Try not to conflict if you can avoid conflict. But because he has this idea, it doesn't mean that others have it too. Since they came over, Wang Ruxuan had actually been eyeing his snowmobile. Zhang Yi's snowmobile is a high-end product, which is extremely rare in this ice age. Anyone who sees it will want it. Wang Ruxuan concluded that Zhang Yi and the others were remnants and defeated generals, and they had a lot of manpower. How could they let go of this opportunity to add insult to injury? Stop. Am I allowing you to leave? Wang Ruxuan sneered and shouted. Zhang Yi and the others had already planned to leave, but after hearing Wang Ruxuan's arrogant words, they all narrowed their eyes. Even Huahua's eyes flickered with displeasure. This person, talking to them? Zhang Yi looked at Wang Ruxuan with a puzzled expression. His eyes under the mask seemed to be looking at a mentally handicapped person. Does this guy know that he is facing 3 aliens and a powerful mutant creature? We don't want trouble. Just do what you like, but don't make yourself uncomfortable with us. Zhang Yi didn't want to fight this person. After all, there is an organization behind him that does not lose to the Zishan base. Killing him may bring many troubles to his peaceful life. Wang Ruxuan laughed out loud. Don't you understand what's going on now? Your car stays. People can go. While talking, Wang Ruxuan raised his arm. Remember one truth. In today's chaotic era, big fists are the truth. I can kill you all easily, so you must do what I tell you to do. As he spoke, he took off his gloves, revealing 2 slender palms. The next moment, his hands glowed with a deep blue light, and the temperature of the surrounding air seemed to become even colder. But that should be the feeling brought by the cool colors. Zhang Yi and the others were wearing combat uniforms that could control the temperature, so they couldn't feel the change of the outside temperature. Alien. Fatty Zhu frowned. Wang Ruxuan sneered and said, that's right, I'm Yiren. I think you should have heard of the existence of Yiren. Killing a small person like you is as easy as crushing an ant to me. Leave the car. I don't have to kill you. Otherwise, I don't mind leaving some bright red blood on the white snow. Even Uncle Yu, who was usually the most tempered, was a little angry at this moment. I've never seen such an arrogant person. When I grow up. Wang Ruxuan sneered and said, hey, you saw it now. Stop talking nonsense, leave the car, and get out of here. The people around him sneered, but they had no intention of making a move. They obviously thought that Wang Ruxuan could easily kill Zhang Yi and the others in seconds. Zhang Yi shook his head helplessly. I don't want to cause trouble. But you can't help it if you want to die. As soon as his words fell, Wang Ruxuan, who was still full of arrogance just now, suddenly felt that the scenery in front of him was changing rapidly. He obviously didn't look up, but he saw the sky covered with dark clouds. Hey? Before he realized what was happening, his brain stopped functioning. But in the eyes of other people in Chaoyu base, Wang Ruxuan's head suddenly flew up from his neck, and then landed heavily on the ground. It was like a watermelon falling on the ground, bleeding all over the ground. Everyone was terrified. They didn't know what was going on. But before they regained their senses, a bloody mouth enveloped them. Ah. Huahua opened her mouth wide and bit off half of their bodies in one bite. After chewing a few mouthfuls, it seemed that the taste was not good enough, and then spit it out again. Is there only one alien among these people? It must be muggles that Huahua doesn't eat. Zhang Yi walked over, picked up Wang Ruxuan's head, and absorbed his abilities. As a result, the power content in his body was pitifully small, and the gain to Zhang Yi was minimal. It's just a strange person who has just awakened. I really don't know why you are so arrogant. Fatty Zhu also said awkwardly, that's right, the young man is so arrogant and domineering. He really thinks that he will be invincible with supernatural powers. He deserves to die. Zhang Yi said indifferently. This is what people who have never experienced social beatings look like. It seems that Chaoyu base has not experienced any large-scale battles, so that aliens of this level think they are very fierce. Zhang Yi didn't know what Wang Ruxuan's ability was, but being so ostentatious within the range of his divine power is courting death. Chapter 339. Zhang Yi put the corpses of Wang Ruxuan and the others into the different space. There may be some things on them that will be used in the future. Anyway, put them away first, and then check them slowly when they go back. As for the possible grievances with Chaoyu base, because of this matter, Zhang Yi is not afraid in his heart. He didn't want to cause trouble, but he wasn't afraid of it either. If Wang Ruxuan hadn't pushed his nose on his face, Zhang Yi didn't intend to take his life. But if you kill it, you will kill it. Let's go. Quickly enter the Zishan base and clean up the things inside. Don't stay here for too long. Although Zhang Yi is not sure how many people have come to Chaoyu base, it would be best if this kind of thing can be ignored. No one knew him. Even the snow worshippers who left early regarded them as a remnant of the Zishan base. Several people quickly came to the entrance of the Zishan base. At the beginning, Zhang Yi blocked it with a pile of old cars and gravel, just to prevent people from coming over to pick up the leaks. He, Uncle Yu and Huahua worked together to clean up all these things and put them into a different space. A few people worked hard for less than half an hour before clearing a road. Huahua, you take the lead. Zhang Yi patted Huahua's head with a smile. Animals are far more intuitive than humans. If there is any danger underneath, it can also sense it in advance. Of course, Zhang Yi was mainly worried that the air below would be too thin, and after a few people went down, they would not be able to get up. There is nothing else to worry about. Even if the poisonous gas leaks, it can be blocked by the gas mask. Huahua let out a meow. He raised his tail and swaggered inside. Zhang Yi smiled reassuringly. It seems that there should be no danger. The three followed Huahua and walked inside. At this time, the Zishan base was attacked by missiles and blasted by explosives again, and obvious cracks appeared on the internal walls. The thick concrete walls cracked, exposing steel bars as thick as 3 fingers inside. It was very dark below, and the three turned on the miners' lamps for lighting. According to the structure diagram of the base, Zhang Yi walked towards the third life warehouse. The fourth life warehouse is worthless. It is only used to live and work for the bottom of the Zishan base. This area, which occupies 80% of the population of Zishan base, owns less than 0.1% of its value. The social forms are always strikingly similar. The air below is a bit dull, the ventilation system has been destroyed, and the entrance is blocked by Zhang Yi, so the air inside cannot circulate, so there is a rotten smell everywhere. And the source of this smell is the fourth life warehouse not far from their left. The huge dark green iron door was tightly closed, and there were 3 big locks on the outside. During the Battle of Zishan, the residents of the fourth life warehouse were immediately suppressed and then imprisoned. There are thousands of people inside. Zhang Yi imagined what it looks like now, and felt goosebumps on his arms. Even though his hands were stained with the blood of many people, he still felt his scalp tingle from this way of death. In the dark underground, water, electricity, and breath were cut off, and finally everyone suffocated to death together. I can't blame you for your death. Zhang Yi didn't feel guilty at all. Even if these people didn't die now, they couldn't escape the fate of tragic death in the future. Fatty Zhu shrank and hid behind the two of them. Boss, why do I feel that the direction is eerie and cold? Could there be something dirty? I'm not afraid of living people. If there is something dirty, what do you think you can do to me? Zhang Yi sneered. Fatty Zhu's timidity really made people speechless. Let's go. Don't waste time here. Go and find their warehouses and arsenals. The three turned around and walked towards the third life cabin. But not long after they left, the dark green door shook violently, as if something was about to rush out. And this scene, Zhang Yi and the others did not see it. Inside the aisle, there were corpses everywhere. Basically, they are soldiers from the Zishan base, and their deaths are very miserable. Some people were killed by Zhang Yi and others, but most of them died of suffocation. They fell against the wall, scratching their throats so hard that some of them broke their throats. The underground temperature is not low, so the storage of the corpses is not so perfect, and some corpses have begun to change. in an environment more than 100 meters underground. This feeling is very penetrating. But Zhang Yi didn't feel afraid. Probably because he has seen all kinds of tragic hells since the end of the world, and his heart has long been numb. The Third Life warehouse is the area where the soldiers live, and the weapon depot is also here. According to the drawings of the Zishan base, Zhang Yi quickly found the location of the weapon depot. At this time, the door of the weapon depot had been opened. It seemed that in a panic, some soldiers wanted to take out weapons from inside and blast a path. Obviously, they failed. Zhang Yi walked to the door of the armory and saw the scene inside through the concealed door. In an instant, there was a boom in his mind, like 100 thunders exploding at the same time. My goodness. Uncle Yu and Fatty Zhu came over to take a look. Their expressions were exactly the same as Zhang Yi's, and the three of them were frozen in place like ice sculptures. Although they had imagined that the weapon arsenal at the Zishan base must be very luxurious, the scene in front of them was a bit too luxurious. At first glance, they saw a gunship parked in the middle of the warehouse. The huge warehouse has an area of thousands of square meters, and there are more than a dozen tanks, chariots, and artillery. Not to mention the boxes of weapons and ammunition, and all kinds of modern combat equipment. Zhang Yi was dazzled. The weapons and equipment here can completely arm a modern reorganization division. Uncle Yu said excitedly. As a veteran, he knows this all too well. This is not only the inventory of the Zishan base, but also the weapons and equipment of the Xianhai City Garrison Corps, which have been transported here. Zhang Yi came back to his senses. His eyes were full of joy. As a man, how could he not love these war equipment? He opened the door to the armory and strode in. Fatty Zhu followed behind and said, although these weapons are very good, but the environment outside is full of ice and snow, they are useless. Zhang Yi came to the side of the armed helicopter and stretched out his hand to caress its icy arc. Nonsense. Of course I know. If they are useful, they would have been used when Ling Feng led troops to attack the shelter. Zhang Yi's eyes were blazing. It was difficult for this thing to take off in the environment of -degrees, let alone perform the mission. But Zhang Yi saw this for the first time, and love is always inevitable. What they can't use doesn't mean we can't use it. Zhang Yi looked at the large number of weapons and equipment around him, and a happy smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Using them to perform tasks, the biggest problem is transportation. But this is not a problem for me. Moreover, we can place these artillery and tanks on the defense line. It must be very good as a defensive weapon. When Zhang Yi saw such a huge arsenal, he had already figured out how to use it in his mind. He is a very economical person and never wastes a grain of rice. This is what he learned from a general who loved soldiers like his son. In short, since he is here, he will take all the things here. At this time, Uncle Yu came over. Zhang Yi, this thing is very useful for me. Give me 2 sticks. Zhang Yi and Fatty Zhu turned their heads and saw Uncle Yu holding a huge Gatling cannon, fiddling with the parts on it with joy. Good guy, this thing is not used in individual combat, it is usually placed on a tank or an armed helicopter. That is to say, a physically strengthened alien like Uncle Yu can be used. Although it is difficult for ordinary firearms to be effective against aliens, this kind of terrifying weapon is not among them. Except for Zhang Yi, a foreigner with almost physical immunity, no one dared to resist its power. Even Ling Feng, who was known for his physical strength back then, could only use high speed to evade. Zhang Yi nodded. No problem, Uncle Yu. I'll give you 2 sticks. Put them in my different space first, and give them to you when you need them. What Zhang Yi said is also reasonable. After all, this thing is really too big, and Uncle Yu can't carry it everywhere. He naturally had no objection to Zhang Yi's words, and nodded in agreement. Zhang Yi pointed to the huge number of weapons around him like a military exposition, and said to Uncle Yu, look more, and you can pick out anything you like. I will prepare it for you alone, so that it is convenient for you to use in battle. Uncle Yu nodded again and again. Besides machine guns, there are other things that he is also suitable for. For example, the rocket launcher is almost like a sprayer in his hand. Fatty Zhu didn't have much interest in weapons, but looked at those chariots and tanks with bright eyes. Zhang Yi wondered, what's the use of being interested in these things? To put it bluntly, at most, they can be used as artillery around the defense line. It's freezing and snowy, and it can't be started at all. although there are crawlers under them. Basically don't expect to be able to drive on snow with this tonnage. Fatty Zoo lay on top of a tank. He giggled and said, "Boss, you don't know, this tank is my wife." It's my wife's model. Zhang Yi was stunned for a moment, but after a little thought, he immediately showed a disgusted expression. All these years, those game companies are blamed. Everything can be girlish, so that airplanes, battleships and even trains are turned into girls by two-dimensional. Fatty Zoo was obsessed with a chariot-like two-dimensional game, and at this time the two-dimensional disease was also on set. Zhang Yi nodded. "Okay, since it's your wife, I suggest you bridal chamber with her today." He glanced at the tank and said jokingly, "But where should you start? There are too many entrances." Fatty Zoo blushed. "How can you say such things? You are really perverted." Zhang Yi, what the hell am I hash? And, at Ash being scolded by a pervert as a pervert was quite a blast for Zhang Yi. Chapter 340 Weird Things. Zhang Yi and the others searched for a large number of weapons, which was a huge gain for Zhang Yi. All fear stems from the lack of firepower. With so many weapons, he will have enough confidence in his heart even when facing powerful enemies in the future. Take it, take it. Zhang Yi opened his dimensional door, and then put all the weapons in the huge warehouse. "Come on, let's continue to see if there are any other good things," Zhang Yi said to the two with a smile. Because of the abundant harvest, even though they were in the eerie underground, and the tunnel was full of corpses, they didn't feel depressed. The third life storehouse has nothing of value other than the arsenal. So the three of them came to the second life warehouse according to the map. But when they came to the entrance, they saw a ruined wall. The second life chamber is the center point of the explosion at the beginning. Even though the buildings here are all poured with reinforced concrete, which are extraordinarily strong, they cannot withstand such an explosion. Cracked walls and collapsing pillars were evident, but the entire second life chamber did not collapse. This is explained on the map. The upper part of the entire underground shelter is supported by a stronger dome-shaped protective layer. Since the dome is more than 10 meters high, the impact received was limited, and it was not shattered. Uncle Yu immediately turned into a strong man, walked over, and held up a huge pillar with a thickness of 2 meters in one hand. In this way, he slowly cleared the passage. Zhang Yi walked very slowly, and the gate of the dimension was always ready above his head to prevent gravel from falling. After arriving in the second life cabin, he couldn't help sighing at the tragic scene in front of him. The Big Bang destroyed most of the rooms, so that the contents of those laboratories were not preserved. After all, those are precision instruments, too easy to damage. However, Zhang Yi has no intention of doing human experiments to create legions of transformed humans, so there is no necessary demand for them. But after getting them, Luke, Karen and Zalkea can study them to see the weaknesses and strengths of this technology. This is to prevent encountering cyborgs again in the future, so as to know how to deal with them. Only a dozen or so reformers have been created in the Zishan base, but there may not be a stronger force that creates a stronger army of reformers. What to do, boss? These machines are broken. Fatty Zoo said to Zhang Yi with regret. It doesn't matter. Zhang Yi is quite open-minded. Take these remaining zeros back. Maybe you can find some useful information. Especially the computer, which may contain some important information that Xinxin didn't find. Zhang Yi doesn't care whether these things are useful or not, he just takes them away. Anyway, he has a lot of space and doesn't take up space. So a few people wandered around from laboratory to laboratory and brought those things they didn't understand into the different space. Even if it's all tattered, it can be used to embarrass people in the future. Oh no, it's throwing people. Suddenly, Fatty Zoo screamed and fell to the ground. Zhang Yi and Uncle Yu's eyes were fixed, and they were immediately ready to fight, and they looked over in unison. What happened? Fatty Zoo pointed forward with a pale face. There are dirty things. Zhang Yi pointed the miner's lamp on his head in that direction, and could only see a pile of broken stones and rubble on the ground, but nothing strange. What exactly did you see? Zhang Yi frowned, holding the gun in his right hand, and at the same time, was ready to unleash the divine power. Fatty Zoo swallowed his saliva, then picked up a stone, and threw it towards the pile of rubble. Snapped. The stone fell into the rock, and the next moment, a large pile of dark things suddenly drilled out from the cracks in the stone, and quickly disappeared into the darkness behind. Zhang Yi's expression twisted. Although he was not afraid of seeing those things, he also felt disgusted. Because it was a bunch of big cockroaches. This is probably the protein laboratory that Liang Yu mentioned before. Zhang Yi coughed and forcibly suppressed the discomfort in his stomach. Using cockroaches and earthworms to make food has been a scientific experiment many years ago. Although it sounds disgusting, the protein content of this stuff is very high. If Master Pei sees them, he will be ecstatic. Zhang Yi said to Fatty Zhu humorously. Uncle Yu laughed when he saw that Fatty Zhu was so frightened by the cockroaches. Zio Zhu, your courage is too small. Why do you look like a woman? Fatty Zhu stood up angrily. I'm not afraid of cockroaches. It's just that it was so sudden that I was taken aback. Zhang Yi realized that the following was a set of mechanical equipment for producing protein liquid, but it also looked badly damaged. He touched his chin, thinking in his heart, if he took it back, could Luke Karen fix it? But what's the use of keeping it after it's repaired? Soon Zhang Yi figured it out. There would be no harm anyway. Just take it away. What if it is useful in the future? Go. Zhang Yi and Uncle Yu started to clean up the gravel on the ground, and soon the huge protein production equipment appeared in front of the three of them. It was in tatters, broken in 3 pieces, and squashed in many places. Zhang Yi didn't care about that, just accepted first. After Fatty Zhu left the ice and snow environment, he was no different from ordinary people. So he can't help much, he can only talk on the side, to ease the awkward atmosphere. These Zio are really perverted. They can still survive in such a harsh environment. I really don't know how difficult it would be to kill this thing if it mutated. After hearing this sentence, Zhang Yi felt a little cold for some reason. If cats can mutate, why can't cockroaches? Although so far, there is only one case of mutated creatures other than humans discovered, who are her. But considering that most of the creatures in Xianhei City are kept in captivity, whether it is food or pets, their ability to deal with natural disasters is poor, and even if they mutate, they are prone to freezing to death. But cockroaches, the vitality of this kind of thing is so tenacious. If it also has a supernatural power, it will definitely become a big trouble. Fuck, the more I think about it, the more my scalp becomes numb. Fortunately, there are no cockroaches in our house. After packing up the fragments of the instrument, Zhang Yi and the others left here. Miaohuahua suddenly turned her head and yelled into the darkness. Her voice was very shrill. Her amber eyes were also full of murderous intent. Zhang Yi frowned and looked there. In the darkness, there is always a pair of huge eyes staring at her. But when Zhang Yi looked over, the feeling of being watched quickly disappeared. A subtle change occurred in Zhang Yi's heart. It seems that some strange changes may really have occurred in this underground place full of dead bodies. Such an environment itself is prone to breed powerful and dirty things. Scratch this place as soon as possible and get out. This place gives me a bad feeling. Zhang Yi said to Fatty Zhu and Uncle Yu. Chapter 341. Everyone moves away. The Zishan base is now unknown. Because there are thousands of dead bodies buried below, the corpse's aura is strong and eerie. Zhang Yi would not have dared to come down rashly if he hadn't been wearing a combat uniform and had a spiritual creature with a keen sense of smell like Uaha. Several people continued on to the next place without any delay. The Zishan base has its huge warehouse, which stores food and other important survival materials. Following the guidance of the map, Zhang Yi soon came to the warehouse at the end of the Second Life warehouse. The road was full of rubble, and Uncle Yu activated his ability to easily clear these obstacles. The door of the warehouse was tightly locked, and it seemed to be a very complicated combination lock. Let me try it. Uncle Yu walked up without saying a word, and swung his huge iron fist. Boom. A punch slammed in the past, and the piercing roar echoed throughout the underground space. But the heavy metal door turned out to be just a squeak, making a toothache sound, but it was not broken. Uncle Yu retracted his fist, and a 3 cm deep fist mark immediately appeared on it. The warehouse is an important place, how can it be so easy to break through? Zhang Yi said with a smile. Then what should we do? We don't have the key either, and even Uncle Yu can't break through by force, let alone the two of us. Fatty Zhu looked at Zhang Yi helplessly, waiting for him to think of a way. Don't worry, this is a good thing. It means that the things in the warehouse are well preserved. I saw that he opened the different space unhurriedly and then took out a lot of tools from it. First there was a huge tin can, then a bunch of rubber tubes and iron gun-like things. High temperature spray gun. Uncle, you recognized this thing at a glance. This thing can spray thousands of degrees of high temperature flames, which is no problem for cutting thick and heavy metals. Zhang Yi smiled lightly. There are so many things in the body space. This thing was originally obtained in the warehouse area. Although he didn't know what it was useful for at the time, he would put away everything he saw. Wouldn't it come in handy now? After Zhang Yi assembled the spray gun, he handed it to Uncle Yu and gave Uncle Yu a thumbs up with a smile. Uncle Yu, it's up to you. Fatty Zhu was speechless. Boss, I thought you were going to do it yourself. Zhang Yi said in a very bachelor way. I have never done this kind of work before. I don't have enough experience. What he said is also reasonable. As the security guard of the community for many years, Uncle Yu always encounters various daily problems on weekdays. He is completely familiar with the use of tools. Basically, when the residents of the community encounter any problems, they will immediately think of asking Uncle Yu for help. Uncle Yu smiled, took the spray gun over, and said with a smile, I know how to use this thing. We have also done electric welding before. He picked up the spray gun, and Zhang Yi and Fatty Zhu took 5 or 6 steps back in unison. All I saw was a slender blue flame bursting out from the gun barrel, and then landed on the metal door. The high temperature of the flame made the surrounding temperature rise a lot. The metal door was very thick, and Uncle Yu had to cut it for a long time before he laboriously cut a hole that could allow adults to drill through. The three entered the warehouse from the entrance of the cave, and when the miner's lamp above their head shone, there seemed to be a variety of items in front of them. Those who didn't know it thought they had entered the storage room of a large supermarket, and there were all kinds of things in it. However, compared to the Walmart supermarket warehouse that Zhang Yi emptied out, this place is much poorer. After all, many things are prepared for war and famine, and have been stored for some years. Uncle Yu scanned the warehouse, and suddenly pointed to an area in surprise and shouted, Zhang Yi, look there. There are good things. Zhang Yi's gaze followed Uncle Yu to a corner of the warehouse. I saw a large piece of blue oilcloth covering something there. When I looked carefully, I found that the edge of the steel bar was exposed at one corner. Building material. I see. This is the material used to repair the Zishan base. Zhang Yi's eyes lit up immediately. They want to build a strong line of defense to protect Young Manor, so strong and durable materials are essential. Originally, Zhang Yi was still struggling with where to get it, but now it's alright. He found a bunch of them directly at the Zishan base. After all, in such a huge base, the underground space is prone to partial damage on weekdays, so it is very concerned about the restoration. Fatty Zhu, Uncle Yu, and Zhang Yi walked over and tore off the tarpaulin. Seeing the amount of materials in front of them, they couldn't help but let out a howl. So much. Steel bars and concrete are piled up like hills. This is not an exaggeration. If you consider the scale of the shelter, the materials here can almost cover 2 basements. All of them are military grade good things. They are extremely strong for building houses and doing fortifications. Now we have the materials to build the defense line. Uncle Yu said happily. Move, 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 move. Without saying a word, Zhang Yi put all these things into his different space. As for the other things in the warehouse, there are too many types, and I can't finish it in one sentence. In short, it's right to put them all away. Inside the warehouse, they found several rooms where food was stored separately. Most of the food inside is canned, and there are also a small number of high-end foods. For Zhang Yi, these things are not attractive, but they are all here, and it is useless not to take them. Zhang Yi thought for a while, then smiled and said to Uncle Yu and Fatty Zhu, my family has enough food and drink. Share the things in this warehouse between the two of you. He doesn't know how to eat these tasteless things, but it's still very good to use them as favors. These materials are of little value to Zhang Yi, but it is different to Uncle Yu and Fatty Zhu. All of them are precious and good things. When Uncle Yu and Fatty Zhu heard that Zhang Yi was so generous, they immediately showed embarrassing expressions on their faces. Attacking the Zishan base, Zhang Yi is the one who contributed the most. Now that the materials are divided up, how can they take the lead? Zhang Yi, you should take the bulk of these supplies. After all, you are the one who contributes the most. Without you, we would not have dared to win the Zishan base. Uncle, you said. Fatty Zoo also nodded. And how much can the two of us eat? There are so many things that one person can't finish eating for 20 years. Boss, you should put it away first. We will need to ask you to get it later. Zhang Yi smiled lightly and said to the two with an open-minded face, I treat you as my own, so you don't need to be alienated from me. With good things, I, Zhang Yi, will never forget you. But it's really inconvenient for you to carry so many supplies, so I'll store them for you first, and come to me anytime you need them. The two nodded, feeling extremely moved in their hearts. Zhang Yi also put these foods into the different space. The inventory of the entire Zishan base for many years disappeared soon. It is also a bit ironic to say, at the beginning, Chen Xinian's deliberate plan was to obtain the warehouse materials in Zhang Yi's hands. In the end, Chen Xinian lost everything he had, and his warehouse also fell into Zhang Yi's hands. Sure enough, it is the reincarnation of cause and effect, and the retribution is unhappy. After cleaning up the warehouse, there is nothing in the entire Zishan base worth Zhang Yi's nostalgia. However, there is still a First Life warehouse that has not been searched. But the defense level there is no less than that of the shelter, and Zhang Yi has no good way to force a breakthrough for the time being. However, according to the introduction of the shelter information, it is mainly where Chen Xinian lives, and there are no valuable materials there. Even if some of his secrets are hidden, it doesn't mean much to Zhang Yi. So Zhang Yi and the three left quickly from the Zishan base. Before leaving, Zhang Yi took out the gravel again, blocking the entrance of the Zishan base. Fatty, try harder. Zhang Yi winked at Fatty Zoo. Fatty Zoo nodded, and then activated his ability, blowing snow. Light blow light condensed in his hands, and the surrounding wind and snow were loud. Boom. The ice and snow from the surrounding land and hillsides poured in like an avalanche, and all of them poured into the entrance of the Zishan base, completely blocking the hundreds of meters long passage. In the future, apart from Zhang Yi, anyone who wants to go in and search will be as hard as heaven. Even though Zhang Yi has searched it once, he still doesn't want to give others a chance to find out. If something was missed and someone picked it up, he would feel very slapped. Okay, we should go back. Zhang Yi didn't stop here too much. After all, not long ago, he had just killed a Yiren and several soldiers at Chaoyu base. If other people from Chaoyu base come later, it will only bring Zhang Yi big trouble. Hurry up and run now, and let this matter pass by, as long as it can. The three of them got on the snowmobile and set off towards Young Manor against the wind and snow. At this time, outside the shelter, Liang Yu came here as usual, teaching Zhang Yi martial arts, and receiving food for the day at the same time. Although Zhang Yi gave her food for half a month before, but not long after taking it back, she was eaten up by the hungry students. After all, when they were at the Zishan base, the protein liquid they received could only basically survive, and it was difficult to eat enough. So they suddenly got a lot of food. How could they care about the future? Let's eat first. In this way, Liang Yu now has to carry their food burden every day. In addition to teaching Zhang Yi to practice martial arts, to get enough food for 10 people, she also took her students to fish in the Lujiang River. Fishing is not an easy job. After all, fish schools are not on the surface of the ice, and many dive into deep water to resist the severe cold. Therefore, fishing every day is very labor intensive. Their lives are hard enough. But today, Zhang Yi happened to be away, so she didn't see Zhang Yi when she came, and it was Zhao Ke who received her. Zhang Yi and the others have gone out to run errands, and they should be back very late today. Teacher Liang, or cancel today's class. Okay. Zhao Ke said to Liang Yu with a smile. The smile was so kind and gentle that no one could fault it. But this smile made Liang Yu's gaze a little dull, and she was caught in a tangle. It's okay for Zhang Yi to miss a day of learning, but if she misses a day of food to go home, those students will have to starve for a day. Chapter 340 to the crash caused by one meal. Liang Yu's face was full of struggle. To Zhang Yi and Zhao Ke, a meal is nothing more than an ordinary thing. But for her and the students, it is an essential thing for survival. Originally, the amount of food was not enough, but now this situation is tantamount to making things worse. No wonder she feels uncomfortable. Zhao Ken seemed to have thought of something and quickly said to her with a smile, oh, I really am. I actually forgot about it. Mr. Liang, you must not have eaten yet, right? Why don't you come and have some with us? Zhao Ken stretched out her hand towards the room and warmly invited Liang Yu into the room for dinner. Liang Yu's throat twitched slightly. Thinking of the hot and delicious food in Zhang Yi's house, his index finger twitched. But after hesitating for a while, she shook her head and rejected Liang Yu's kindness. No, thank you. Then I'll come back tomorrow. The students were all hungry, and she would feel very sorry if she ate alone. Oh, I'm really sorry. I made you go for nothing today. Zhao Ken smiled apologetically. It doesn't matter. He also has his own affairs. I can understand. Besides, it's always the tutor's time to adapt to the students. How can the tutor set the time? Liang Yu turned around and left. Looking at her stubborn back, Zhao Ken couldn't help laughing. Teacher Liang is such a lovely person. In the living room, Yang Xingxin appeared pushing a wheelchair. She said lightly, perhaps this is the stubbornness of warriors. Zhao Ken sighed softly. If she asks, I can actually pack a piece of food for her to take back. Liang Yu is a top-notch warrior and a person with abilities, so Zhang Yi values her very much. Zhao Ken understood this in her heart, so she was very polite to Liang Yu. If Liang Yu joined them one day, she would have to get on good terms with Liang Yu. Yang Xingxin smiled faintly. If you only bring back one piece of food, that would be the worst. Oh, why? It's better than going back empty-handed, right? Zhao Ken tilted his head and asked. Yang Xingxin put her hands on her lap and smiled mysteriously. My classmates are not kind and generous people. If Teacher Liang took away only one portion of food, she would definitely not eat it by herself according to her personality. But if you leave it to others, how will you divide it? It's impossible for a dozen people to eat a piece of food, and everyone politely gives in to each other. For that one bite, they will compete with each other, insult each other, and even develop into a fight. Teacher Liang is already exhausted to take care of them, so he won't cause any extra trouble for himself. After listening to Yang Xingxin's explanation, Zhao Ken nodded, thinking it was very reasonable. But she could also understand what Liang Yu did. Women are creatures that are prone to overflowing maternal love. Liang Yu has been their teacher for many years, and she treats them as children in her heart, so naturally she can't bear to see them helpless in the last days. If it were in the past, Zhao Ken would also feel sorry for these students. Of course, that was only in the past. Now she still retains a trace of her kindness, but she will not be buried by reason. Even if Zhang Yi leaves, he should know that Liang Yu will come. Do you think he did it on purpose? Through the window, Zhao Ken saw Liang Yu's bleak back in the wind and snow, and couldn't help asking. Thinking of Zhang Yi's black-bellied character, Yang Xingxin blushed slightly and smiled a little nympho. This is definitely within brother Zhang Yi's plan. Zhao Ken's eyes lit up. She turned her head and said, you mean, Zhang Yi did this on purpose, to intensify the conflicts among your classmates? Or to put more pressure on Liang Yu, so that she can recognize the reality as soon as possible? Yang Xingxin nodded. Of course, brother Zhang Yi couldn't have thought of this. She said foolishly, using the opportunity that I have something to do, I pretended to forget the agreement with Teacher Liang. In fact, I took the opportunity to cause trouble for those guys and disturb Teacher Liang's heart. Brother Zhang Yi, he is too strong. That's right, this is indeed Zhang Yi's usual style. Zhao Ken also sighed, adoring Zhang Yi more and more in her heart. He is so delicate, every tiny movement actually has a deep meaning. On the way back, Zhang Yi drove the car, which has the auxiliary function of automatic driving. In fact, driving is quite easy nowadays. Suddenly, he slapped his forehead. Oh, I forgot to tell Liang Yu today, so don't look for me. Liang Yu returned to Zujia town. When passing by the Lujiang River, she saw women and children digging fish through the ice on the river. All the adult men in Zujia town died at the Zishan base, leaving only some women, old people and children in the village. But they still have to live, so they have to do what men usually do. Liang Yu passed them, and saw numb faces. Today, they are not much different from the Walking Dead. Living is just for living itself, without any other meaning. Liang Yu couldn't help but think of her students. They are young and strong, but less willing to fight for survival than these women, children and old people. What Zhang Yi said is right, I did overprotect them. Liang Yu let out a long sigh in his heart. She touched her hungry stomach and secretly made up her mind. This time when I go back, I will have a showdown with the students, and we must get them out of their comfort zone. After returning to Zhujia town, Liang Yu came to the house where the students lived. Although there are many vacant rooms in Zhujia town, they are all crowded together because they can hug each other to keep warm. Even when sleeping at night, girls will take the initiative to get into boys' beds because their body temperature is higher. This situation continued, and gradually, the relationship between them became chaotic. Seeing that Liang Yu came back so soon, the students were very surprised. It usually took her several hours to get food, but after noticing that she was empty-handed, the students became a little anxious. Mr. Liang, why did you come back empty-handed? What about food? The students came up and asked about the food. In their eyes, that is something bigger than the sky. Liang Yu walked into the room, found a chair to sit down, and explained today's situation to them. Zhang Yi has something to go out today, so there is no food available. Let's catch fish and eat. Hearing what Liang Yu said, the students immediately went into an uproar. Why didn't he tell us in advance when he went out? He's not at home, so are the others? They have so much food, it's okay to give us some. Zhang Yi is too much of a promise. The students were hungry and complained when they heard that there was no food. Liang Yu felt a little unhappy. In any case, Zhang Yi also gave us a lot of help. Without him, many of us would have died in the Zishan base now. And he and I just traded and don't owe us anything. Everyone should not always think about blaming others, but rely on their own hands to get food. Liang Yu worked hard to educate the students, but they didn't buy one. As soon as they heard that they were going to work by themselves, the girls burst into tears. Mr. Liang, I broke my hand when I went to pick fish last time. The wound is not healed yet. It hurts me to death. We can't do this kind of thing. We are not fishermen. A girl suddenly complained in a low voice. Speaking of which, Yang Xingxin and Lu Karen are too heartless. Obviously everyone has been classmates for many years, but they only care about enjoying themselves and don't care about us at all. As long as they plead with Zhang Yi, we all have the opportunity to live in that warm and comfortable shelter. This complaint, like turning on a certain switch, immediately led the conflict to Yang Xingxin and Lu Karen envy, jealous, abomination. These emotions are slowly taking root in my heart and then growing stronger and stronger. The harsh living environment has cultivated it into a big tree. Although Lu Karen and Yang Xingxin didn't owe them anything, on the contrary, they were the ones who bullied them back then. But as the old saying goes, don't worry about scarcity but inequality. It would be nice if we all suffer together. Why are they starving and freezing every day, but those two people can live in a gorgeous big villa? You can also enjoy heating and hot food every day and sleep in a soft and warm bed. The girl's speech was just to release the emotions that had been pent up in her heart for a long time. She made a start, and the other students seemed to have found a breakthrough, insulting Lu Karen and Yang Xingxin one after another. What two despicable and selfish fellows. I invited Lu Karen to drink milk tea 2 years ago. She doesn't want to help me now. How shameless. A girl said angrily. Look at what you said. Our family and the Yang family are still distant relatives. Yang Xingxin is different and didn't think of me. A selfish woman is a selfish woman. Let me tell you, at the beginning I thought these two women were not good people. Looking at it now, my vision is really accurate. The students found the target to attack and immediately became excited, like a group of sharks smelling blood. They slammed Lu Karen and Yang Xingxin fiercely, as if they owed them a debt. Liang Yu was dumbfounded when she heard that. She couldn't accept that a student slandered her classmates without any distinction between right and wrong. What aristocratic colleges, what noble children of the top society in the south of the Yangtze River, high quality talents. Looking at the scene in front of them, it will only make people feel that they are no different from the scoundrels in society. Liang Yu's heart sank completely, and she finally made up her mind not to spoil these arrogant and childish students anymore. Be quiet, everyone. I have something to announce. Liang Yu said loudly, and the people around immediately fell silent. Liang Yu glanced at them and said word by word, From now on, I'm going to live in the shelter. Together with Luke, Karen and Yang Xingxin. Chapter 343 Human Entanglement. Liang Yu knew that she couldn't continue to spoil this group of students. She had to make them independent. Only when they taste the hardships of life and live hard with their own hands can they become upright people. Perhaps at that time, they will not encounter things and only know how to complain. So she wants to leave here and go to Zhang Yi's shelter, and besides delivering food to them every day, she will never care about their other excessive demands. Liang Yu sighed softly in his heart. After saying these words, she felt relieved and felt that a huge stone had been let down. She admitted that she also longed for comfort in her heart, and she had long wanted to be a member of Zhang Yi and others, so that she could live in that comfortable big villa. The reason why he persisted in the past was to take care of these students. But if the result is to make them more vulnerable and unable to take care of themselves, she has no choice but to let go. After Liang Yu finished speaking, there was a brief silence in the room. Suddenly, a girl blushed with excitement. "Teacher Liang, are you going to take us to live in Zhang Yi's shelter? That's great." Her brain circuit is really strange. Perhaps in her impression, Liang Yu is a woman who should give everything for them without selfishness. Before the other students also cheered, Liang Yu said loudly, "That's not the case. I was the only person in the past. You must stay in this place and learn to live by your own abilities. Zhang Yi promised me that I can provide food for 10 people every day, and I will deliver it to you every day. Of course, if the situation like today happens, there is nothing I can do. As for the lack of food, you need to solve it yourself. I won't spoil you anymore." The students looked at Liang Yu with a serious face, and some couldn't believe their ears. Teacher Liang, who was so kind to them, why did he suddenly change? "Mr. Liang, you can't leave us alone. You weren't like this before," a girl said with a sob. "Yes, Mr. Liang, you are too selfish to do this. How can you only think about being comfortable alone and let us suffer here?" Listening to the students' complaints, Liang Yu completely gave up on them. The flowers growing in the greenhouse will not thank the gardeners who cultivated them hard, but enjoy everything with peace of mind. It's time to leave them to bear the storm alone. I have already decided on this matter. You don't need to say more. Liang Yu clenched the tangdao in her hand, gritted her teeth, turned around and walked out of the snow house. The students panicked and hurried to catch up, shouting desperately behind them. If Liang Yu really went to the shelter, who would take care of them in the future? People always know how to cherish when they lose. They desperately want to keep Liang Yu. "Mr. Liang, we were wrong. Please don't leave us. Big deal. We won't be lazy when catching fish in the future." It can be seen that Liang Yu was indifferent. A boy gritted his teeth and shouted, "You took us to the Zishan base, and you brought us out. You just let us go. This is what a teacher should do something." Liang Yu's body suddenly trembled. Her pupils were constricted, and her eyes were full of disbelief and heartache. The students she cared about the most hurt her the most. It turns out that everything she has been doing in silence has not been understood by them, and they think she has harmed them. Liang Yu took a deep breath and quickened her pace of leaving with firm eyes, no longer caring how the students behind her wailed and begged. Liang Yu came to the shelter again. Zhao Keller naturally invited her in enthusiastically, but there was still a bit of curiosity in her eyes, not knowing why she went and came back. Liang Yu was also embarrassed to tell Zhao Keller about it. After all, it is Zhang Yi who decides whether she can live in, or it is better to chat with Zhang Yi himself. Of course, Liang Yu still had a lot of confidence in her heart. First, she knows her own value. A powerful alien is a hot presence, no matter where she is. Second, she has a good relationship with Luke, Karen and Yang Xingxin, so she can ask these two students to intercede for her. Seeing that Liang Yu hesitated to speak, Zhao Keller knew that it was not convenient for her to tell him, so she smiled and called Luke, Karen and Yang Xingxin over. "You two, please accompany Teacher Liang. She looks like she is not in a good mood." Zhao Keller glanced at Liang Yu and said with a smile. Luke, Karen nodded. "Okay, leave it to us." Yang Xingxin's dark pupils flashed a strange look. Teacher Liang seems to have figured it out. Luke, Karen and Yang Xingxin happily came to Liang Yu. It was the first time they got together to chat after they parted at Shine King Academy. The three of them were sitting on the sofa, and Liang Yu was the first to ask about their recent living conditions. Lu Karen smiled happily. "We've been living a good life recently. Brother Zhang Yi is a very nice person, and he usually doesn't even let us do housework. And he also set up a separate studio for me, so that I can develop my hobbies. To be honest, I think this period of time is happier than in school." Liang Yu thought in his heart, "He just took a fancy to your mechanical talent, silly girl." Yang Xingxin smiled lightly and said, "After we came here, we have indeed lived a very comfortable life. Teacher Liang, do you really want to come here too?" Liang Yu's thoughts were already seen through by Yang Xingxin. There is no way. The martial arts teacher's mind is on his face most of the time. Especially in front of two students, she would not deliberately hide her emotions. Liang Yu's face turned red slightly, a little embarrassed. "Xingxin, I really should leave. Zhang Yi is right. I always protect those children. It will only make them develop dependence." The corner of Yang Xingxin's mouth raised slightly, and she said straightforwardly, "But, from the bottom of your heart, Mr. Liang, don't you want to move here?" Liang Yu opened her mouth, not knowing what to say for a while. She was a little flustered. Obviously, as a teacher, he should be more upright. However, she does have her own selfishness, and she really wants to enjoy life. This, Liang Yu didn't know how to explain. Yang Xingxin's eyes were too transparent. She felt that she was being seen through. But at this time, Yang Xingxin suddenly grabbed her hand and smiled softly. "It's okay, Teacher Liang. Everyone has the right to pursue happiness, and what you did was right." Liang Yu was healed by Yang Xingxin's gentle and positive eyes. With Yang Xingxin's support, the guilt in her heart gradually disappeared. Yes, there was nothing wrong with her doing it. Chapter 344. Lu Karen poured Liang Yu a cup of hot coffee. After Liang Yu thanked her, she held the coffee, warming her stomach and heart. She sincerely begged Yang Xingxin and Lu Karen, "When Zhang Yi comes back later, please help me talk to him about this matter." Lu Karen said heartily, "Of course. Don't worry, Mr. Lu. With your great ability, Brother Zhang Yi will not refuse you to join us." Getting along with each other in the past few days made Lu Karen understand Zhang Yi's style of doing things. He has always treated talents generously, and she and Yang Xingxin are the best examples. At the beginning, she was just a gift, but after doing things for Zhang Yi treated her as well as his own sister. Yang Xingxin was a little helpless listening to Lu Karen Daishio's speech. Lu Karen's mind is a little more simple, but she is not. At least from the heart, Yang Xingxin is closer to Zhang Yi and appreciates Zhang Yi's rules of survival in the last days. She smiled and said to Lu Karen, "Hey, don't talk nonsense here. If you take care of everything now, and Brother Zhang Yi comes back with other ideas, wouldn't it make Teacher Liang very disappointed?" The smile on Lu Karen's face suddenly froze in embarrassment. She scratched her cheek and said with some embarrassment, "It seems to make sense." Yang Xingxin turned to look at Liang Yu and said with concern, "Mr. Liang, Brother Zhang Yi is really nice, but he is very principled. He will have very strict requirements for every member who joins the shelter. If you want to join us, you must be mentally prepared. At least you have to accept one thing, and that is to obey his orders." Yang Xingxin is very smart. She doesn't give Liang Yu hope first like Lu Karen, but chooses to suppress her. This way of singing red faces and suppressing Liang Yu's psychological expectations will make it easier for Zhang Yi to talk in person in the future. Sure enough, the smile on Liang Yu's face faded a bit. Holding the coffee cup in her hand, she couldn't help but put in more effort. What kind of requests does he usually make? Liang Yu subconsciously clamped her legs, bit her lips lightly. Her face was a little shy. Although she doesn't know Zhang Yi well, she is not blind, and she can observe the relationship between Zhang Yi, Zhao Ke and Yang Mi. Apart from him in this family, the other four are all women. Then after I came to the shelter, wouldn't I want to? Oh, she's too embarrassed to think about it. Yang Xingxin quietly rolled her eyes, and then said with a smile, "Not really. Since Karen and I came here, Brother Zhang Yi has never done anything wrong to us. He is a very honest man. Loyalty." The corners of Liang Yu's mouth twitched, and she was a little speechless when she heard others comment on Zhang Yi. Yang Xingxin blinked at her. "Anyway, you can rest assured about that aspect. Brother Zhang Yi is not a pervert with a sperm on his head, otherwise, how could he have survived to the present in the apocalypse? What he needs is your strength. So if I'm not mistaken, the condition for you to join the sanctuary is that you must obey his orders during battle. Yang Xingxin made a precise judgment. In fact, Zhang Yi's requirements for those around him are all reflected in the word value. In terms of life, there are no restrictions on them. Liang Yu nodded, waiting nervously and looking forward to Zhang Yi's return. A few hours later, the sound of an engine was heard outside. Lu Karen and Yang Xingxin looked out the window and said with a smile, "Brother Zhang Yi is back." Liang Yu subconsciously clenched her fists, feeling uneasy. Yang Xingxin controlled the wheelchair and walked towards the door. Zhang Yi and the others got out of the car and walked all the way towards the shelter. After that, they had to discuss how to build a defense line together. Zhang Yi opened the door and saw Yang Xingxin waiting at the door with a smile on her face. Xingxin? It was the first time Zhang Yi saw Yang Xingxin coming to greet him. She doesn't like to move very much on weekdays and spends most of her time in the room studying the information obtained from the Zishan base. So today she came out to greet him, and Zhang Yi immediately realized that something might have happened. "What's the matter? Is there something you want to tell me?" Zhang Yi smiled and walked over to ask. Yang Xingxin nodded, then looked in the direction of the living room and quietly said to Zhang Yi, "Ms. Liang is here and she plans to join us." Zhang Yi's heart skipped a beat. Liang Yu is a powerful stranger and he has coveted her strength for a long time. It's just that Zhang Yi didn't directly invite her to join the shelter because she was carrying a bunch of oil bottles. Now that she took the initiative to come over, could it be that she wants to understand? "What's the situation?" Zhang Yi asked with a smile. Yang Xingxin smiled triumphantly. The smile on the corner of her mouth was like a little devil, and said quietly, "Brother, your method of light fasting and my persuasion have worked. The relationship between teacher Liang and those students has deteriorated, so she came here in a fit of anger." The plan of light fasting refers to that Zhang Yi only provides food for 10 people to Liang Yu each time. He had used this trick in Yulu district before, and now it is still effective against Liang Yu students. Taking out part of the food every time can not only keep Liang Yu from hating him, but also keep those students in a state of hunger. 1 or 2 days is okay, but if it takes a little longer, there will definitely be conflicts due to competition for food. Liang Yu is a conscientious teacher, but she is not a saint either. How could she endure ignorant students all the time? So her coming here today was within Zhang Yi's expectation. Sooner or later, Zhang Yi smiled even stronger. "I know. Brother, I've already laid the groundwork for you. When chatting with her, you can make a little excessive demands." Yang Xingxin blinked at Zhang Yi. "Xingxin will help you convince her." Zhang Yi nodded with a smile and stretched out his hand to pinch her cute and cold face. "You are really my sweetheart." Liang Yu's weakness is her students. The softer you are, the easier it is to be persuaded. With Yang Xingxin and Lu Karen working together, taking her down is easy. So Zhang Yi stood up and said to Fatty Zhu and Uncle Yu next to him, "Liang Yu is here. I'll go talk to her. Go to the next door and wait for me first." Fatty Zhu gave Zhang Yi a thumbs up, showing a wretched smile, which seemed to mean something. Uncle Yu also smiled ambiguously and went next door with Fatty Zhu. On the other hand, Zhang Yi calmed down the expression on his face, pretended to be careless, and pushed Yang Xingxin into the living room. He and Liang Yu's eyes met, and a trace of tension could be seen in her eyes. Zhang Yi smiled faintly. "Teacher Liang, you are here. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels." Chapter 345. Welcome to Zhang Yi-039's team. Zhang Yi pushed Yang Xingxin to the living room and saw Liang Yu, who was a little nervous. Yang Xingxin winked at Liang Yu. "Don't worry, Teacher Liang. I will help you talk." Liang Yu's heart relaxed a little. Lu Karen said, "Boss, welcome home. What would you like to drink, beer or milk, or a cup of warm milk tea?" Zhang Yi said, "Let's have milk tea, less sugar." Luke Karen cheerfully went to pour milk tea for Zhang Yi, but her eyes were still quietly looking at Zhang Yi and Liang Yu. There is no way. As a student, Luke Karen likes the teacher Liang Yu very much. She also hopes that such a good person as Liang Yu can move into the shelter and live with them in the last days. Zhang Yi changed into his daily clothes and then sat on the sofa. He was not in a hurry to speak, but was busy with his own affairs slowly. At times like this, you have to hold your breath. The person who speaks first has already lost 3 points in momentum. Liang Yu sat on the sofa nervously, hesitating to speak. Some didn't know how to speak. It was Yang Xingxin who broke the situation first. Brother Zhang Yi, Xingxin has something to ask of you. Zhang Yi turned his head and glanced at her. Oh, what's the matter? Xingxin, we are not outsiders, so if you have anything to say, just say it. Yang Xingxin glanced at Liang Yu and then said, can teacher Liang move in and live with us? Liang Yu was relieved when she saw the students help her express her thoughts, and she was also a little grateful to Yang Xingxin. She looked at Zhang Yi, afraid that he would reject her. Oh, teacher Liang is moving here? Zhang Yi smiled with a playful look on his face. Pointing at Liang Yu, he said, stop joking. Didn't teacher Liang always say that she has students to take care of? But at this point, he changed the subject. Of course, I didn't say that I don't welcome it. Mr. Liang is fast and powerful. If he joins our sanctuary, he will become a useful talent. It's just that I, Zhang Yi, don't like to make things difficult for others. Liang Yu's expression was a little embarrassed. That's right. From the very beginning, Zhang Yi had secretly expressed his appreciation for her. But when she learned that she insisted on accompanying the students, she never expressed a similar attitude. However, Zhang Yi's recognition of her strength made her feel more at ease. Luke Karen came over with milk tea, handed the steaming hot milk tea to Zhang Yi's hand, and begged, brother, you don't know the current situation of teacher Liang. Those students don't know how to feel sorry for teacher Liang. And they don't want to do some work every day, they just know how to suck teacher Liang's blood. HMPH, that means teacher Liang has a good temper. If it was someone else, he would have let go of them long ago. They still have the right to complain. These words reached Liang Yu's heart. She made a lot of sacrifices for the students. Although she doesn't ask them for anything in return, at least she should be a little grateful in her heart. Isn't this too much? But what about them? Not only did he not know how to feel sorry for her, but he made an inch of it. Even Liang Yu, who has such a good temper, finally couldn't take it anymore. She said to Zhang Yi, I hope to come here, to give them an independent environment to grow up. Children need to be weaned when they grow up, let alone most of them are adults. I have been guarding them, not helping them, but harming them. Don't worry, I will abide by your rules after entering the shelter. If you come to my place later, you can just order it. Seeing Liang Yu being so frank, Zhang Yi stopped putting on airs. This kind of thing goes too far. Liang Yu is a proud person. If she gets out of it, maybe the relationship between the two of them will deteriorate in the future. The aliens in the last days are very precious, and all of them have promising combat power. How can we let her escape? So he held a cup of warm milk tea and said with a smile, if Mr. Liang is willing to come, I welcome it. But I still have some concerns about you in my heart. Liang Yu frowned slightly. You don't believe me? Zhang Yi smiled lightly. That's not true. It's just that I'm worried that you will be able to obey my orders as you said in the future. Being watched by Zhang Yi's fiery eyes, Liang Yu's heart trembled slightly and she subconsciously moved her legs together. If it's too much of a request, I really can't agree to it. After all, I'm also a person with a bottom line. Zhang Yi didn't know what she was thinking. He said calmly, teacher Liang is kind and frank. This is your strength, but it is also your shortcoming. If I keep you, what I need is your force. Teaching me kung fu is one aspect of ability. The most important thing is to use your strength when fighting. The smile on the corner of his mouth slowly changed, and he looked at her with deep eyes. But if one day, in order to protect the safety of our own people, you need to kill people you think are innocent, can you do it? What Zhang Yi needs is not a warrior with a conscience, but a warrior and soldier who will carry out his orders without hesitation. From his heart, someone like Ling Feng is the subordinate he wants most. Do whatever it takes to achieve your goals. But in some respects, he is particularly brain dead, such as the word loyalty. If the identities of the two had been changed back then, and Zhang Yi was in Ling Feng's position, he would have killed Chen Xinyan and taken the position himself. It's true that Liang Yu is very strong, but she can't be ruthless, and Zhang Yi can't accept her. Unexpectedly, Liang Yu seemed to guess that Zhang Yi would ask this question, so she just took a deep breath and then said to Zhang Yi with firm eyes, "If it's for the safety of myself and those around me, I can do it. But if it's just to satisfy my own desires, I'm sorry, I can't accept it." Suddenly, her eyes softened, and she showed a bright smile to Zhang Yi. "And according to my observation, although Mr. Zhang Yi looks cold and heartless, you are a peace-loving person. As long as you are not provoked by others first, you will not kill innocent people indiscriminately." Yang Xingxin quietly blinked at her, indicating that she said it was beautiful. Apparently, before Zhang Yi came, the two of them also discussed Zhang Yi's possible request. Of course Zhang Yi noticed their small movements, but it didn't matter. What he needs is an attitude from Liang Yu. As long as she can wield her knife for him at critical moments, he doesn't have to care about other aspects. To be honest, he is looking for tool people for himself, and tool people only need to be useful when they are used. Zhang Yi and Liang Yu confirmed. That means, as long as it is to protect our safety, you can kill anyone, right? Liang Yu thought for a while, and replied cautiously, "I will not attack my own people." She was afraid that Zhang Yi would let her kill her students. Zhang Yi didn't have any objections, of course. After all, I'm not a devil. How could I attack people around me? If something like that had to be done, he would do it himself. Zhang Yi picked up the coffee in his hand and drank it slowly under Liang Yu's slightly nervous eyes. To be honest, he didn't like Liang Yu's character and even hated her always carrying a bunch of oil bottles. And accepting Liang Yu meant that he would have to help support those students in the future. Funny, what does Zhang Yi have to do with them? Why take care of them? If the person who came today was not Liang Yu, but someone else, Zhang Yi would have already kicked him. But it was Liang Yu who came, so Zhang Yi had to weigh in his heart whether it was worth it or not. Provide food for 10 people every day, and you will get a beautiful foreigner who is outstanding in combat power, proficient in martial arts, and can be his teacher. Either way you look at it, the business is very lucrative. In the apocalypse, Zhang Yi very much needs to have a strong enough combat power around him. Especially this kind of woman with cerebral problems. She is stupid in some aspects, but she is too smart to control. Zhang Yi thought about it for a while, and thought, I really want to get Liang Yu over, and then get rid of all her students. Anyway, they have bullied Xingxin and Karen in the past, so doing this will also gain their support. It's a fool's errand to do this. Let Liang Yu come over first, and then the life and death of those miscellaneous students in Zujia town is just in my mind. The end times are so dangerous, isn't it normal for them to die in accidents? I have plenty of time and methods to deal with them. All that needs to be consumed is just a little bit of food that is insignificant to me. After Zhang Yi thought about it for a while, he thought that his business would be profitable, so of course he had to do it. After Zhang Yi figured it out, he put down the coffee cup, smiled and extended his right hand to Liang Yu. Then, happy cooperation. Welcome to Zhang Yi's big family. Chapter 346 Major Powers in Xianhai City. Zhang Yi and Liang Yu agreed that Liang Yu would live in the shelter. She can eat here like everyone else and enjoy daily life services. But she is not allowed to bring other people in unless Zhang Yi agrees. Of course, the implementation of this condition is very difficult. Zhang Yi will only pick useful people to enter his sanctuary. The core purpose is to let him live a better life in the last days. And Zhang Yi will, as usual, provide her with food for 10 people every day and ask her to send it to the students to maintain their lives. Hearing that Zhang Yi agreed to continue supplying food, Liang Yu patted her chest in a relaxed manner. In this case, her conscience could live with it. But she didn't know that it was precisely because of this condition that Zhang Yi felt disgusted with those students. Frankly speaking, he had murderous intentions. Yang Xingxin, who is familiar with Zhang Yi, just saw the corner of Zhang Yi's mouth slightly raised and knew that her classmates would not live long. Because Zhang Yi has never raised idlers, But Yang Xingxin also didn't like those classmates. So instead of exposing Zhang Yi, she would support Zhang Yi in doing so. Zhang Yi called Yang Mi and Zhao Ke over and asked them to call Zhao Heimei too. At noon today, everyone held a welcome party to celebrate Liang Yu joining their group. Zhao Ke smiled and said, "Okay, I'll be in charge of tidying up the room." Yang Mi smiled and said, "Then Sister Heimei and I will be responsible for preparing lunch." "Miss Liang, do you have anything you like to eat?" Liang Yu was a little flattered and hurriedly replied, "I'm not taboo, you can do whatever you want." Yang Mi smiled and nodded. "Well, that's good." The smiles on the faces of the two women were strong, but they gave Liang Yu a strange feeling. She always felt that they felt a little jealous towards her, and that kind of looming hostility puzzled her. What's going on? Is it my illusion? Liang Yu thought about it, but she didn't know when she offended them, so she could only think that she was overthinking. After Zhao Ke and Yang Mi left the living room, they looked at each other and sighed in unison. There's one more person, and she's a very capable woman. Not only can he fight, but he also looks good. Yang Mi rested her chin on one hand, with a sad face. I'm the most useless in this family. Seeing this, Zhao Ke comforted him for the first time. That's not really what you said, at least you can still cook well. And in terms of size, we still have an advantage. As she spoke, she stretched out her hands to cross her small S-shaped waist and straightened her proud chest. Yang Mi lowered her head, but couldn't see her shoes. Well, it's holding up pretty well. At least in terms of figure and beauty, they are the winners, which makes them a little more confident. However, with this sense of crisis, the two secretly made up their minds to work harder to prove their worth in the future. But don't let others take Zhang Yi away. The house became lively. After Zhao Heimei came to the shelter, she greeted Zhang Yi and the newcomer Liang Yu with a smile, and then went to help Zhao Ke and Yang Mi. Zhang Yi slapped his thigh and said to Liang Yu, "It just so happens that we are going to have a meeting. You should join us too." "Meeting?" Liang Yu asked curiously. "What meeting?" Zhang Yi smiled mysteriously. "The battle meeting." Liang Yu covered her mouth in surprise. "There won't be another war, right? The Zishan base has been wiped out. Are there any enemies around here?" Zhang Yi smiled faintly. "If the river in one place dries up and other tributaries have water, they will flow naturally." Liang Yu understood what Zhang Yi meant. "You mean, because the Zishan base was destroyed, there was a vacancy in the surrounding area. So someone wants to come and take away the site of the Zishan base?" "It's about the same. I feel like this. At least people from other forces have appeared nearby, but no one can predict how it will develop in the future." Zhang Yi spread his hands. "But we must prepare for the worst. Life is not a child's play. As long as we are fully prepared, we will not be afraid of any danger." Liang Yu agrees with Zhang Yi's cautious attitude. She nodded. Her eyes became more serious. "If you need me to do something, just ask me. Of course, I won't be polite to you," Zhang Yi said. At this moment, Yang Xingxin tugged on Zhang Yi's sleeve and said to him with a smile, "Brother Zhang Yi, I also just got some interesting information from the database of Zishan base. It's about other forces in Xianhe City. Do you want to hear it?" Zhang Yi smiled and said, "Of course I want to listen. I'll call Fatty Zhu and Uncle Yu over. Let's listen together." Yang Xingxin nodded. This information is very important, and it is up to Zhang Yi to decide whether to tell everyone publicly. So Zhang Yi called the other two to the living room. The three of Zhao Ke were preparing for the welcome party, but they were also busy in the island kitchen in the living room, and their conversation could be heard. It's just that their attributes are biased towards logistical work. They only need to know the news, and they don't need to participate in the discussion. After everyone arrived, Zhang Yi first briefly described what happened at the Zishan base today. "We met two groups of people at the entrance of the base, and there were some conflicts. This may lead to retaliation from the opposing forces, or maybe other forces will come to compete for the territory and thus have a war with us. So, everyone, we can't be too comfortable now. We must be prepared for danger in times of peace. Be vigilant at all times." Everyone nodded one after another. Although they were a little surprised by the appearance of other forces, they were not too shocked. After all, in the last days, anything can happen. Zhang Yi looked at Yang Xingxin and said, "Let Xingxin tell you about other forces first." Let's have a clear concept and know who are potential enemies. Everyone turned their attention to Yang Xingxin and listened carefully to her words. Yang Xingxin had already put the laptop on her lap, and it contained the intelligence materials she had prepared. She started talking without haste. According to the information from Zishan Base, there are 4 forces in Xianhai City that can threaten Zishan Base. Among them, there are 3 forces that are located in the refuge like the Zishan Base. I will start with these 3 refuge forces. The first is the base in Yangsheng district, which controls the largest oil refinery in Xianhai City, and energy is their greatest advantage. The current leader of the Yangsheng base is Zhao Honglian. He is a stranger, but his ability is unknown. He is suspected to be a flame. She also has a deputy named Zhu Qingting, whose ability is wind, but the specific ability is unknown. The second is the base located in Chaoyu district, close to the East China Sea, which controls the ships of all shipping companies in Xianhai City. According to the information from the Zishan base, they can even use large ships to go to sea. Hearing this, Zhang Yi couldn't help calling a pause. Wait a minute, Xingxin. Is it possible to go to sea at this time? It is now February, the coldest season, and the entire Lujiang River has been frozen into lumps of ice. At this time, can the ship leave the port? Others also had the same question, and looked at Yang Xingxin puzzled. A smug smile appeared on the corner of Yang Xingxin's mouth. At this time, her advantages as a top student were revealed. Yes, a part of the offshore area will indeed be frozen. But the deep sea will not be frozen by this low temperature, especially the closer to the equator, the higher the temperature. Ocean currents will bring warm currents around the equator, and there are volcanoes on the seabed, so it is impossible to freeze the ocean. Even if the temperature drops another degrees and the surface of the world is frozen, there will still be water flowing behind the thick ice. Luke Karen added, seawater is very salty, so it's not easy to freeze. In addition, they have icebreakers. As long as they park in the deep sea, they can avoid being trapped in the ice and breaking down. Everyone finally understood now. Zhang Yi stroked his chin and thought for a while, then suddenly had an idea. If that's the case, wouldn't it be possible to go fishing? Or live in a warmer area near the equator? Yang Xingxin nodded. Based on today's temperature, the temperature near the equator is about 2 degrees below zero. Although it is a disaster for the local aborigines, it is only equivalent to the winter in the northeast, and humans can still survive. She flipped through the computer. Well, according to the intelligence records of the Zishan base, they have the most abundant food, and indeed they rely on the sea to eat the sea. However, because ships require a lot of energy, they have interests with the Yangsheng base. These two are also the closest to the major forces in Xianhai City. Zhang Yi leaned over to glance at the computer, and it was this glance that made his pupils shrink slightly. Because in the materials introducing Zhaoyu base, he saw a familiar sign: blue sea waves. Is this the sign of their base? Zhang Yi and Yang Xingxin confirmed it. Yang Xingxin nodded. That's right. The 4 major shelters all have their own logos. After all, their predecessors were all officially built shelters. No wonder. Zhang Yi thought of when he met Wang Ruxuan and others. The combat uniform on the other party was the same as that of Zishan base. The only difference is that the pugiate on the chest is not a golden sword, but a blue sea wave. In other words, what he killed were people from Chaoyu base. Let's look back. Yang Xingxin nodded and continued with the introduction. The person in charge of Chaoyu base is now called Wei Dinghei, and the information about him is completely unknown, and it is even impossible to confirm whether he is a different person. His deputy, Chen Jingwen, also has no information. It seems that their main battlefield is the sea, so they have less contact with other bases. Because they can get the food they need from the sea, and the ships themselves have good cold resistance, so they don't have much conflict with other forces. Zhang Yi secretly said in his heart, now there is a conflict with me. The last of the 4 refuges is located in Qingpu district. It's near the Xianhai Qingpuan and Steel Group's steel plant. It's the steel plant workers organization that controls them now. The leader is called Crossing Xian. This name is too domineering, so I'm not sure if it's his real name or his code name. If a person's online name is Crossing Shan, it will be a good job, but if a person's real name is Crossing Shan, it will be a unique skill. Yang Xingxin's tone was slightly teasing. By the way, there are some records about his ability. It seems that he can affect the power of the people around him and make the people around him stronger. But there are no specific records either. Yang Xingxin spread her hands helplessly. The time for the end of the world is relatively short, and the major forces dare not clash rashly. And according to the law of the Dark Forest, they will not easily expose their abilities. Therefore, the information they have on each other is very limited. Zhang Yi nodded. He understood this very well. Inhuman abilities are very complex and vary. If you compare abilities to weapons, it's like a gun that doesn't know where it's hidden, how powerful it is, or when it will shoot. Before you know the opponent's abilities, you must be careful and prepared. Otherwise, it is possible that the next moment, the gun will be fired directly in your mouth. Yang Xingxin continued, there is one more thing. It is the same as the Zishan base. The controllers of the other 3 bases all seized power by force and eliminated the first high-level leaders. However, they don't have an army in their hands, only armed organizations. So in terms of combat literacy, there is a certain gap between them and the Zishan base. This is very reasonable. In the last days, the order collapsed, and the fist is the last word. However, among the 4 major bases, only Chen Xinian is an exception, because he has no supernatural powers. The reason why he was able to become the leader is all because Ling Feng, the alien under him, is a loyal deadhead. The 3 major bases, if you count the Zishan base, basically each base holds a very important strategic resource. Zhang Yi analyzed, the Zishan base controls the army, the Yangsheng base controls energy, the Chaoyu base controls shipping, and the Qingpu base controls the steel plant. After he figured this out, he suddenly felt a lot more relaxed. If you say that, in fact, among the 4 major bases, the Zishan base has the strongest combat capability. After all, the Zishan base has the most weapons in its hands, and it also has elite troops. Everyone nodded in agreement. Fatty Zhu patted his chest and said, my heart is much more relaxed. No matter how strong the other 3 bases are, they can't be stronger than the Zishan base that controls the army. And we can even take down the Zishan base, so we don't have to be afraid. Them? Zhang Yi said with a smile. Although they may also have some armed forces, compared with well-trained soldiers, there is definitely a gap in quality. The biggest suspense now is the aliens. However, due to the lack of information, perhaps we will not know how many aliens they have and how strong they are before they face to face. In short, if you can avoid conflicts, try to avoid them. Zhang Yi can only hope that those people will not come. That is the best result. Of course, if there is a fight, we won't be afraid of them. Even a force with powerful armed forces like Zishan base has no shelter, let alone other forces. When he was happy, Liang Yu asked, Xingxin, didn't you say that there are 4 large forces in total? Besides these 3 bases, which other forces exist? It was only at this time that everyone remembered that Yang Xingxin still had a power that he didn't mention. Fatty Zhu's face suddenly became a little frightened. The last one is probably the strongest. Miss Yang, is it possible that you still have a big one hidden? Everyone's hearts tightened when they heard the words, and they all looked at Yang Xingxin. Chapter 347. Yang Xingxin looked up at everyone and said calmly, it's not because this force is stronger, it's just because it's special. She hit enter and jumped to the information of the next faction. Snow Worship Cult, a religious organization established after the end of the world. Its predecessor was the minority religion theological sect in Xianhe City. The leader, Yuan Kangai, is a hybrid of the Hua Kingdom and the Neon Kingdom. After the end of the world, he awakened his abilities. It is preliminarily judged that his ability is called Blessing, which can help other aliens awaken their abilities without paying any price. There was a boom in Zhang Yi's mind. Memories from the past suddenly start to surface. Back then, Uncle Yu had mentioned the existence of Snow Worship Sect to him. Uncle Yu's expression also became serious. He was the one who had personally contacted the Snow Worship Sect. Moreover, they have all seen a living example of blessing and awakening. Li Jian. Is there such a powerful ability in this world? Liang Yu's face was full of surprise. She still remembered that when she obtained the supernatural power, she was on the verge of death, and she only grasped that feeling in a hazy way. As for the other people in the room, the way to get the power is to die. However, That person named Yuan Kangai can directly help people awaken their abilities. With this ability alone, she can gather countless powerful aliens as subordinates. Zhang Yi's eyes became serious. If you look at it this way, the strength of this snow worship cult is terrifying. Moreover, it exists in the form of religion, and on the condition of helping others to enlighten and awaken their abilities, it will definitely attract many strangers by their side. In other words, snow worship cult has unlimited growth power. Everyone realized the seriousness of the problem and their expressions were solemn. Yang Xingxin continued to read. After the end of the world, Shinriism changed its name to Snow Worship Sect, respecting Yuan Kangai as the leader. She claimed to be the human body of the snow god. She also claimed that this heavy snow was the cleansing of the world by the snow god. Only those who believe in the snow worship sect can do so spared. The sphere of influence of the snow worship cult is concentrated in the Xianfeng and Changlan districts. There are quite a lot of aliens under him, and the exact number is unknown. In the intelligence of the Zishan base, they are marked as particularly troublesome opponents. Zhang Yi crossed his hands and propped his chin and said with a very serious expression, Xianfeng district and Changlan district are the most densely populated places in Xianhai city. Preaching there can quickly develop the scale of snow worship cult. After all, in the last days, religion develops the fastest and people want to obtain spiritual sustenance. However, apart from the large number of people, these two districts have no other core resources. Judging from this, the most people died there. Zhang Yi was a little puzzled. What do they live on? Food and heating are the most important conditions for survival. The shelter has a base built many years ago and a large amount of storage materials, and Zhang Yi has already prepared for it. Why are they? Yang Xingxin couldn't explain this either. She shook her head. I only have so much information. Every faction has their secrets. Perhaps they eat meat. Zhang Yi nodded. Oh, that's true. Look at my brain. How can I forget such an important source of food? No way. His usual quality of life is too good, so he doesn't know the sufferings of the world. This kind of cult that came from abroad must have various methods to brainwash the followers. For example, the meat is a sacrament. Zhang Yi smiled wickedly. This joke made everyone feel goosebumps. Wow, your joke is so cold. What a hell joke. However, the atmosphere at the scene became active. Zhang Yi thought of the two groups of people he met outside the Zishan base before. One group were people from Zhaoyu base, and the other group who didn't wear uniforms were probably snow worshippers. But at that time they did not show any malice towards Zhang Yi. So Zhang Yi didn't have any bad feelings towards them. People don't offend me. I don't offend people. As long as others don't come to disturb his quiet life, he doesn't care what the other party does. At this point, Yang Xingxin has finished introducing the largest forces in Xianhai city. In terms of information, there was little pitiful stumbling, but it basically let everyone understand the situation in Xianhai city. Zhang Yi sat on the sofa, glanced at the people who were thinking secretly, and said, "This is the situation. Do you have anything to say?" Everyone looks at me, and I look at you, and they all have some opinions in their hearts that they want to express. Zhang Yi said to Uncle Yu, "Uncle Yu, you are the oldest among them, so let's talk about it first." Uncle Yu didn't refuse, and said seriously, crossing his arms, "I think no matter how many forces there are in Xianhai city, it is definitely right to be prepared to meet the enemy. The most urgent task now is to build up the defense line. We got so many weapons from the Zishan base, wouldn't it be a waste if we don't use them?" Zhang Yi nodded. The defense line must speed up the progress, and no one knows when these forces will conflict with them. After all, Zhang Yi has already killed the people in Zhaoyu base, and there is another person. In case the other party finds out the truth, a conflict will inevitably break out. After Uncle Yu finished speaking, Fatty Zhu, who was sitting next to him, said worriedly, "I think the situation is very bad." Fatty is a typical pessimist who spreads negative emotions whenever he opens his mouth. We saw people from the two forces outside the Zishan base. When they found that the Zishan base was destroyed, they might come to fight for the site. At that time, the surrounding area may become a battlefield. If we are affected, the trouble will be great. Zhang Yi looked at him and said, "Then do you have any good suggestions?" Fatty Zhu frowned, looking thoughtful, but when his fat face made such an expression, it always gave people a feeling of pretending. I think it's best to keep the walls clear. Don't leave casually. Zhang Yi nodded, not to mention other aspects of the dead fat man. His life-saving ability is also excellent, so I thought of going with him. Luke Karen interjected, I'm afraid they will come, if we don't cause trouble. Zhang Yi held his face, then we still need to build a good line of defense, and be fully prepared. We can't control what others do, can we? That's true. Luke Karen frowned slightly, as if he was in a bit of a dilemma, and didn't know how to speak. Seeing this, Zhang Yi smiled and said, just say what you have to say. Everyone is discussing, and you may open our minds by saying it. Encouraged by Zhang Yi, Luke Karen said, actually, I was thinking, should we go out and find some materials to restore the shelter? Chapter 348 Sweet Talk. Luke Karen's words reminded Zhang Yi. Although I got some building materials from the Zishan base this time, they can only be used to build the outer line of defense. The shelter had been blown up by Ling Feng before half of the wall, and its defense power dropped sharply. To repair this one-piece wall, special building materials must be used. If you want to get the material, you have to go out. Zhang Yi rubbed his chin and said to himself, although it is best not to go out now. However, the quartet forces we mentioned only exist, but they have not had a large-scale confrontation with us. They don't dare to act rashly unless they confirm that the surrounding area is not dangerous. Therefore, let's hurry up and go out in the past 2 days and come back as soon as we get the materials. It shouldn't be a problem. Luke Karen nodded. Good brother. After Luke Karen finished expressing his opinion, Liang Yu also wanted to say something, but Yang Xingxin spoke before her. Tell me what you think. As soon as Yang Xingxin spoke, Liang Yu had no choice but to hold back her inner thoughts, waiting for Yang Xingxin to finish speaking. Yang Xingxin's speech caught everyone's attention. Because this girl has a very high IQ, she can often put forward some constructive opinions. If we talk about her shortcomings, it may be because her IQ is too high and she is occasionally unreasonable. With a calm smile on Yang Xingxin's face, she said to everyone, I think you are a little too nervous now. She pointed to her head. Don't lose your ability to judge because of panic. In fact, the situation we are facing now is not that bad. The first is the forces of the other four. Their tentacles have not yet extended to the Zishan base. Let's take Zishan base as an example. The Zishan base controls the permanent army in Qianhe City with the most powerful force, but they still haven't completely controlled all the sites in Zishan and Lujiang district. This can be judged from the fact that they sent people out to inspect. So we can conclude that the other four forces have not even been able to fully control their own territory. And they also restrain each other and dare not expand rashly, otherwise their base camp will be at risk of being attacked. It can be judged from this that we still have a long period of time to prepare for future events. Yang Xingxin's words made everyone feel a little more relaxed. Indeed, they just know that there are still many powerful forces in Qianhe City, so they are a little nervous. But in fact, from a rational analysis, the possibility of the opponent running over to attack the shelter is extremely low. In the Ice Age, transportation, communication and other means were greatly restricted, and there is no irreconcilable conflict between them and Zhang Yi, and it is even more impossible to send people to search in order to find the location of the shelter. Coupled with the destruction of the Zishan base, they will be vigilant and dare not act rashly. No matter how you think about it, it is unlikely that the four forces will quickly gather powerful forces to launch an attack on the sanctuary. Fatty Zhu said cautiously, then it's always right for us to build up the defense line earlier, so be prepared. Yang Xingxin nodded. What I mean is that the defense line can be built first, but there is no need to rush into a state of alert. Instead, we should take advantage of this time to collect more useful materials and come back. Speaking of this, Yang Xingxin looked at Zhang Yi and said, Brother Zhang Yi, don't you still have to find materials to repair the shelter? Zhang Yi and Yang Xingxin met their gazes, and Zhang Yi saw something strange in her eyes. She was hinting something to Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi turned his head slightly and guessed what Yang Xingxin was thinking. He nodded. Yes, according to Combustible, repairing the outer walls of the shelter requires a lot of rare building materials. This is indeed quite time consuming. Yang Xingchen looked at the pensive Liang Yu again. Mr. Liang, Zujia town also needs to prepare more food for war and famine, right? Liang Yu couldn't help but blurt it out. That's what I'm worried about. If there are really enemies coming, wouldn't they be very dangerous in Zujia town? Yang Xingchen tilted her head, looked straight at Liang Yu and said, you can't protect them forever, right? My suggestion is to tell them the situation in advance, and then let them store more food and hide. Mr. Liang, you don't have to worry. As I said, there won't be any enemies around here in a short time. So far, Zhang Yi has confirmed Yang Xingchen's thoughts. He smiled and took a deep look at Yang Xingchen, then took a sip of the milk tea in his hand, as if nothing had happened. From the very beginning, Yang Xingchen's speech made him feel strange. Even if the enemy doesn't know when the attack will come, Yang Xingchen doesn't need to let everyone relax. It wasn't until she mentioned Zujia town that Zhang Yi realized what her plan was. First, both she and Zhang Yi hated those students and hoped that this group of troublesome guys would disappear quickly. Second, because of Liang Yu's existence, it was inconvenient for them to attack from the open. So Yang Xingchen said that on purpose to make everyone think that the current situation is not so tense. This can prevent Liang Yu from making a request to Zhang Yi to bring those students to Young Manor for protection. And, on the other hand, there is another method of borrowing a knife to kill a knife. If there is an enemy attack, the villagers of Zujia town near Young Manor must be the first to deal with it. Because judging by general logic, the villagers of Zujia town are very likely to be the outpost of Young Manor. If you want to attack Young Manor, you must first deal with the people in Zujia town. Liang Yu was also very tangled after hearing Yang Xingchen's words. She tried to ask Zhang Yi, can you let them come and help us build fortifications together in exchange for our protection? Zhang Yi did not directly answer Liang Yu's question. He just smiled and asked back, have your students learned how to catch fish? If they can't catch fish again, people will die in such cold weather. Liang Yu's face suddenly became a little embarrassed. What Zhang Yi meant was, how can this group of useless people who can't even catch fish from the frozen river come over and help me? They can only be burdens, and I don't need burdens. Yang Xingchen comforted Liang Yu and said, don't worry, Mr. Liang. The above statement is just our guess. After all, the enemy may not appear. Maybe no one will come. Liang Yu sighed. It would be great if that's the case. After Yang Xingchen finished speaking, Liang Yu originally planned to ask Zhang Yi for help, but now it is difficult to speak. But at this moment, a voice helped Liang Yu out. Since Mr. Liang is so worried, then I will help you find a way. The speaker was Zhang Yi. He looked at Liang Yu with a smile. If one day there is really danger around here, I will temporarily allow your students to move to live near the shelter. There are still a few empty villas around the shelter, which are fully capable of accommodating those students. Liang Yu stared at Zhang Yi dumbfounded. She couldn't believe that these words could come out of Zhang Yi's vocal cords. Because in her impression, Zhang Yi is not such a kind person. Not only Liang Yu couldn't believe it, but Fatty Zhu, Uncle Yu and Luke Karen all looked shocked, as if they were meeting Zhang Yi for the first time. Only Yang Xingchen looked at Zhang Yi calmly, with a smile on his mouth and a look of admiration in his eyes. Seeing Liang Yu's shocked eyes, Zhang Yi smiled and spread his arms and said, why are you looking at me with such eyes? You don't really think I'm a cold-blooded and heartless person, do you? Liang Yu's face was slightly embarrassed. Although she didn't speak, her expression had already admitted her inner thoughts. Zhang Yi shook his head. Maybe it was like this in the past, because we were not companions at that time. But now, Miss Liang Yu, you are already one of us. You are my companion in my family. So the people you want to protect, I will definitely help you protect them. Zhang Yi looked at Liang Yu with extremely sincere eyes, and his tone was sincere like a devout believer. Liang Yu was moved by Zhang Yi. When she was most tangled and difficult, it was Zhang Yi who helped her out. This caused ripples in the heart of this 27-year-old single female teacher, and she didn't even care much about Zhang Yi taking her sword. Zhang Yi, I really don't know how to thank you. Liang Yu's face flushed from overexcitement. Zhao Keller, who was cooking not far away, saw this scene. curled her lips, and murmured a few words in a low voice. Just looking at the mouth shape, it seems to be a bad word that is not suitable for children. Zhang Yi smiled and shook his head. Don't say those outrageous things. We will help each other in the future, as long as you do your part for everyone's safety. As long as you are obedient in the future, you can kill whoever you ask you to kill. Liang Yu nodded firmly. I will definitely do it. At this time, Zhang Yi's image in her heart became stalwart. She found that she had always misunderstood Zhang Yi in the past. How arrogant and prejudiced is she to treat Zhang Yi as a selfish person? Liang Yu's problem was solved, while other people's problems were decided by Zhang Yi, and made a conclusion. In short, there are two top priorities. The first is to build a solid line of defense around Yonk Manor, to guard against possible enemies. Second, I will go out with combustible to find materials to repair the shelter. In addition, everyone is not allowed to act without authorization, let alone leave the surrounding area of the shelter, so as not to encounter spies from other forces and cause unnecessary conflicts. Everyone has no opinion on Zhang Yi's arrangement. This is the best arrangement at the moment. But there was one thing that Zhang Yi didn't say. That is, at the entrance of the Zishan base, he has killed the aliens and ordinary soldiers of the Zhaoyu base. So the current comfort will definitely end earlier than expected. He didn't mention it, and Fatty Zhu and Uncle Yu didn't mention it in a tacit understanding. The two thought that Zhang Yi was trying to stabilize the mentality of everyone in the sanctuary. But in fact, Zhang Yi is a hidden thread for his next plan. Chapter 349. The meeting ended successfully, and everyone had no opinion on Zhang Yi's arrangement. At noon, everyone gathered to welcome Liang Yu into their team. The dining table was steaming hot and full of sumptuous food. Fragrant and fatty roast chicken, hot and sour garlic fried fish, fat but not greasy champion's hooves, sweet and delicious mutton soup, braised pig's knuckle stewed until soft and rotten. These delicious foods will be served on Zhang Yi's table even in normal times. But for Liang Yu, these foods undoubtedly made her drool, and her hands trembled when she moved the chopsticks. Even when she was in the Second Life warehouse of Zishan base, she had never enjoyed such a sumptuous meal. If this meal is seen by people outside in the ice and snow, they will definitely be so jealous that they will go crazy. In the end of the Ice Age, others can risk their lives for a cold steamed bun. But Zhang Yi and the others live such a luxurious life. There is no harm without comparison. Although she didn't want to admit it, Liang Yu was secretly glad that she had made the right choice. She ate this meal very happily, and it has been a long time since her taste buds enjoyed such a pleasant vibration. So much so that she accidentally ate too much and ended up with a big belly and gastrointestinal problems. Ugh. Liang Yu clutched her stomach, her face turned pale. Everyone froze for a moment and hurried over to care about her. Zhao Ken suddenly realized and patted his forehead. Oh, it must be because the food was too bad before, and now the stomach of big fish and big meat can't take it anymore. They ate like this on weekdays, so they subconsciously ignored Liang Yu's diet. Zhao Ken quickly helped Liang Yu to lie down in the room, and then took some stomach medicine for her. It's okay, just take a break. Zhao Ken smiled softly and helped Liang Yu cover her with the quilt. This warm feeling moved Liang Yu to the point of crying. After the apocalypse, this was the first time for her to experience being taken care of by others. Her heart became more dependent on the shelter, and her mentality changed drastically in just one day. Actually, this look is really good. After lunch, Yang Mi, Zhao Ken, and Zhao Heimei were in charge of cleaning. Seeing Lu Karen's strange expression, Zhang Yi seemed to be depressed, so he called her over with a smile. Kan Ran, what's the matter? I noticed something wrong with your eyes when I was eating. Hearing this, Lu Karen waved his hands again and again. Brother, I'm fine. I'm fine. Zhang Yi smiled lightly, reached out and flicked her forehead lightly. Why are you pretending to be mysterious with me? If you have anything to say, just say it. Remember, we are family. You shouldn't have secrets from your own family, understand? Hearing this, Lu Karen looked around and felt relieved after confirming that no one else was there. She looked up at Zhang Yi and asked quietly, brother, why did you agree to protect those students? They are very bad. It was because of this. Zhang Yi couldn't help laughing. Luke Karen's expression was a little depressed. She said, "You should have seen what happened back then. Those guys are not good people. After the end of the world, Xingxin and I were bullied terribly. So I don't really want to see their ugly faces." Although Luke Karen is careless on weekdays, she is just a young girl who dares to love and hate. For those classmates, she was very repulsive in her heart and could not forget everything that had happened. The smile on the corner of Zhang Yi's mouth grew stronger. At this time, Yang Xingxin, who saw the two talking, passed by not far away. She and Zhang Yi looked at each other, smiled meaningfully and left. Many times, Zhang Yi and Yang Xingxin have the most tacit understanding. Because Yang Xingxin is very smart, the higher the IQ, the more able to use reason to suppress the emotional side. So Yang Xingxin, like Zhang Yi, considers issues from the perspective that is most beneficial to herself and the shelter. Zhang Yi hugged Luke Karen's shoulder affectionately and then came to the corner of the room. He whispered, "Can Ran, if I completely ignore your classmates, what do you think your teacher Liang will do?" Luke Karen frowned slightly. "Well, according to teacher Liang's character, he will probably choose to leave the shelter, then go protect them, or take them to other safe places." Zhang Yi smiled and nodded. "That's the reason. Although I'm not interested in the life and death of your classmates, Liang Yu is very useful to us. We have to keep her." Luke Karen suddenly realized, I understand, brother, you did that to stabilize teacher Liang. But, do you want to support them for a lifetime?" Luke Karen pouted, a little sullen. "Those hateful guys, why can you make offerings? They don't deserve it. Don't worry, it won't be too long. The outside environment is so harsh, and these little chickens, will freeze to death and starve to death sooner or later. Also, I will also have some preparations," Zhang Yi said with a smile. He thought of the iron from Zhao base who had been killed by him. The loss of a foreigner is a major event for any force. This will speed up the sanctuary's contact with outside forces. He talked nicely to Liang Yu. If danger occurs, those students will be protected. But if there was a conflict, he would naturally have one reasons to explain it. After all, Young Manor was far away from Zujia town, so any delay would be enough for outside forces to kill them all. Luke Karen's eyes lit up. The eldest brother is indeed the eldest brother, and he will never let her down. She wanted to continue to ask something, but Zhang Yi made a silence gesture to her. "Some things should not be discussed at home. Let's go out tomorrow to find materials for repairing the shelter. I will tell you the details then." Although Liang Yu is resting in the room at this time, just in case, it's better not to talk about the specific plan at home. Luke Karen's heart knot was untied, and a smile appeared on his face again. She nodded. "Okay brother. But, where are we going to find materials?" Zhang Yi said, "There is a material factory not far from here. We can go and have a look. It is still in the sphere of influence of the Zishan base, and there will be no danger for the time being." "Okay, then I'm going to sort out the list of materials." Luke Karen immediately went back to the studio and got ready to go. Zhang Yi looked at the back of her leaving and began to ponder in his heart. His plan is very simple. Use foreign enemies to deal with Liang Yu's students left outside. He has no intention of supporting idlers. What's more, those students, Zhang Yi thinks they are white-eyed wolves. Keeping it around is not only not helpful, it may cause trouble. Uncertain factors, erasure is the best choice. On the other hand, this can be regarded as avenging Yang Xingxin and Luke Karen's revenge. It's just that people from other forces are not my followers, so they can't be so obedient. Now we can only wait for fate. Although he wanted to use other people's hands to get rid of the students in Zujia town, Zhang Yi would not take the initiative to provoke other forces. His own safety comes first. And when those students die is not the main thing. Chapter 350 Surprised. In the afternoon, after everyone rested, Zhang Yi began to arrange tasks. The first priority now is to build a good line of defense. He called everyone over. Everyone must participate in this kind of thing, and no one should be lazy. Luke Karen's drawings have already been designed. The concept of the defense line is to build a circular defense line with a radius of 500 meters, a height of 20 meters, and a thickness of 10 meters around the shelter and other residential villas. The main building materials are steel bars and ice blocks, which are the easiest materials for them to obtain and have the best defensive performance. Ice has the function of self-healing, and it will gradually thicken in such a cold season. The 10-meter thick solid ice also has a good effect on resisting powerful fire attacks. Zhang Yi arranged tasks for everyone. Luke Karen is a genius in the field of mechanical engineering. Although he has not studied architecture, he is still much better than others in terms of mechanics. She is in charge of commanding the construction of the defense line. Fatty Zhu is responsible for collecting materials. The most used material for the defense line is giant ice cubes, which can be directly intercepted from the Lujiang River. Then, Zhang Yi used his space ability to carry them back. Liang Yu then processed the whole ice cubes into ice bricks suitable for building barriers. Uncle Yu was responsible for building the steel bars and giant ice bricks. As long as time goes by, the ice cubes will fuse together, and the steel bars will also be integrated into it as a skeleton, turning into an indestructible ice and snow barrier. In this way, the first line of defense outside the shelter was successfully built. Although it is much weaker than the defense of the shelter, but its existence was originally to prevent the enemy from launching a sneak attack and buy time for everyone to hide in the shelter. Because Zhang Yi and the others obtained a large amount of weapons and ammunition at the Zishan base, including many heavy artillery and tanks, they temporarily modified the defense line. Many holes were dug in the defense line thousands of meters long, and then the muzzles were mounted, and these weapons were connected to the console of the shelter. 30 heavy machine guns, 5 large caliber machine guns, plus 6 artillery pieces, and even 2 tanks and 4 tanks were put on it. Zhang Yi didn't put all his heavy firepower on the defense line, and kept some of it in the different space for future contingencies. As soon as such a design was proposed, everyone at the scene felt excited. Once such a powerful fire defense line is completed, they will have enough confidence to deal with the attack of thousands of troops. Okay, everyone, let's start now. This is the line of defense to protect our safety, so we must work hard and don't be lazy. Zhang Yi clapped his hands, smiled and let everyone start to act. As for Zhao Keita, Yang Mi, and Zhao Heimei, since they didn't have superpowers to help them, they were responsible for preparing hot drinks for everyone and helping Luke Karen by the side. After the division of labor was completed, everyone went to Lujiang to get busy. Although this is a seemingly huge project, all of you here are strangers. Which one is not possessed of unique skills? When they started working on projects, their abilities were brought into play. The work that usually requires an engineering team can be done by a few people. Fatty Zhu came to the surface of the river and pressed his hands on the ice surface. In an instant, the ice surface began to crack, and huge cracks appeared. After a while, a huge cuboid ice cube rose from the ground, slowly floating in the air. Zhang Yi hurriedly opened the gate of the dimension and took it into a different space. Fatty Zhu worked hard one after another, digging out 10 huge pieces of solid ice in one go. However, after doing such high intensity work, he was soon exhausted and out of breath. Eat something and rest first. I'll do it later. Zhang Yi was not in a hurry and asked Fatty Zhu to recover his strength while he himself returned to the shelter with the collected ice cubes. Huge irregular blocks of ice were placed on the ground, each one the size of a room. Luke Karen was at the side directing. While looking at the drawing, she asked Liang Yu to cut the ice into the desired shape. Without further ado, Liang Yu took out the tang knife, only to see the bright light of the knife flashing across the air quickly. A huge ice cube was cut into a regular hexahedron. Next is Uncle Yu's work. He lifted a cuboid ice cube and then slammed it into the ground. The huge ice cube tens of meters long is like a wooden wedge being deeply inserted into the ground. At this time, the ground near Young Manor was much softer due to repeated blasting, so the progress of this work was not troublesome. Uncle Yu's first job is to lay the foundation, and then build the steel bars into a skeleton, which is placed on the inside of the ice. After the skeleton is built, a circle of ice cubes will be placed in the internal test to make a double layer of defense. In this way, even if it is attacked by fierce artillery fire, it will not cause the ice block to shatter as a whole. After that, the surrounding soil is compacted to stabilize the foundation. The big guys work together and enjoy it. although it is necessary to withstand the ultra-low temperature of -4 degrees, everyone is wearing cold-proof clothing, and even if they exercise, their bodies will feel a little hot. This is extremely extravagant in the last days. That kind of professional winter clothing was only worn by professional level special personnel in the past. Ordinary people who wanted to buy one set couldn't afford the high price. Zhang Yi and the others have a clear division of labor, and their work efficiency is very high. A few hours later, the prototype of the barrier of more than 100 meters was built. But when Zhang Yi and the others were busy, Zhang Yi accidentally saw a figure flickering across the river. He took a closer look and found a slightly familiar figure sneaking past. It seemed to be a student whom Zhang Yi had met before, but Zhang Yi didn't know him, but he had a little impression of his face. It may be that Zhang Yi and the others dug a large-scale hole on the ice, which caught the attention of some people in Zhujia town. Zhang Yi folded his arms and smiled disdainfully, because he didn't bother to care what those people thought. As long as he wants to, he can kill all those little gangsters by himself. But thinking of that man's sneaky look, Zhang Yi was a little curious, not knowing what he was doing. Fatty Zhu next to him was out of breath, and was still struggling to dig out the ice. Such a huge ice cube also consumes a lot of his abilities. Zhang Yi couldn't help much now, so he simply took out a high-power telescope, stood on the embankment, and looked across the river. From this angle, the situation in Zhujia town can be seen at a glance. It was freezing cold, and Zhujia town was dead silent. Because a large number of young and middle-aged people died in the Zishan base, there were not many aborigines left here. Basically all women, old people and children. But when Zhang Yi looked at it this way, he suddenly discovered an interesting scene. The sneaky student just now was not alone. There was a young woman behind him. The two came to a snow house and then got in one after the other. The corner of Zhang Yi's mouth slowly raised a playful arc. These sons, even at this time, they still can't change their shit. Fatty Zhu worked hard for a long time and finally got another piece of ice. He squatted on the ice, saw Zhang Yi's actions and shouted curiously, "Boss, what are you looking at?" Zhang Yi put down the telescope in his hand and said lightly, "Nothing. You should take a rest first." He took the ice back, and after Liang Yu finished processing, Zhang Yi took out today's food from the different space. "It's getting late. Go and deliver food to the students." Liang Yu took the bag from Zhang Yi and nodded. Zhang Yi suddenly said, "By the way, there is something I want to apologize to you." When Liang Yu heard this, she looked at Zhang Yi suspiciously. "Apologize for what?" Zhang Yi looked at her sincerely and said, "I always thought your students were selfish, but just now, I saw your students helping a poor girl. So I think I should say sorry to you." Liang Yu felt very strange in her heart. Zhang Yi seemed to have something in his words, but she didn't know what Zhang Yi wanted to express. There was a meaningful smile on the corner of Zhang Yi's mouth, and he pointed his thumb back to Zhujia town. "In the house at the east end of the village, your students are helping others." Liang Yu's complexion suddenly changed. She realized that her students might be doing bad things to the old, weak, women and children in Zhujia town. As a teacher, it is impossible for her to watch her students do such immoral things. "I'll go take a look." She flicked her long ponytail and ran towards the opposite side of the river. At this time, in the igloo, Wu Chengaiyu pulled the wooden boards and blocked the door tightly. This kind of semi-underground igloo was very effective against the cold, but the air temperature was too low after all, and it was difficult for his body to react. Looking at the pale-skinned and haggard woman in front of him, Wu Chengaiyu sighed inwardly. In the past, all he looked for were top-level girls in Xianhei City. If it weren't for the conditions, how could you find this kind of woman? But now I have endured it for too long, so I can only make do with it. Wu Chengaiyu took out half a lunchbox from his arms and threw it on the table. When the woman saw the half-box lunch, a light finally appeared in her eyes. "Hurry up, I don't have time to waste here," Wu Chengaiyu said coldly. The woman swallowed her saliva, reluctantly looked away from the lunchbox, and then slowly crawled up to Wu Chengaiyu. When Liang Yu arrived, Wu Chengaiyu had already started doing nasty things in the house. Outside the snow house, Liang Yu heard the blushing and heart-beating voice. She was stunned, and she didn't even want to believe that there were her students in the room. Now is the end of the world. The women in Zujia town have lost the pillars of their families, and it is difficult for them to survive. So it is impossible for the woman in the house to do this because of love and Wu Chengyu. Then she can only be coerced or exchange her body for something. No matter what the reason was, Wu Chengyu's behavior made Liang Yu tremble with anger. As a woman, she couldn't allow the student she worked so hard to protect to bully another woman. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.